Ken, do you do the birthdays at the weekend?
Maybe it could have been his birthday the weekend.
There
I
you
think
go.
Candice would do that.
I'll expect an apology. All right, Lee. Enjoy the rest of your day. It is the 9 till noon show at 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update. Good morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 2 more victims of the Creeslaw tragedy will be laid to rest today. 49-year-old Martina Martin's funeral mass is being held at 11 o'clock in St Michael's Church, Creeslaw, while 14-year-old Leona Harper will be buried following 2 o'clock funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Ramelton. Well, the people of Creeslaw and its surrounding areas are being asked to prioritise their mental health and engage in services that are available to those impacted by the tragedy. Free counselling is being made available from specialist support teams. Parish priest Father John Joe Duffy says it's important locals look after their mental health.
Each person who is affected by it, people who may not have been at the scene or may not be directly related, please make use of the services that are available in our surgery and at the medical centre, and contact your GPs.
The President has visited Letterkenny Fire Station. Michael D. Higgins met members of the fire service last evening as part of his plans while in Donegal to meet the emergency services who worked at the scene of the Creeslaw explosion. Speaking yesterday, the President said he wanted to thank all those who played a part in the rescue and recovery operation on behalf of the people of Ireland. Investigations are continuing after a teenager was assaulted this week in Letterkenny. The attack took place at around 5 o'clock on Tuesday evening on the Ramelton Road. The male teenager was hospitalised for treatment to injuries sustained. Gardaí say no arrests have been made, but investigations are ongoing. The Finance Minister is considering all submissions made following the announcement of a defective blocks levy in last month's budget. During exchanges in the Dáil, Sinn Féin's Matt Carthy told Minister Michael McGrath that there have been rumours what may or may not happen with the levy and that they need to be addressed. He said the levy is set to penalise the very people it is supposed to support.
Those families that were actually impacted by the defective block scandal and the Celtic Tiger era fire safety defects will actually be forced to pay more to rebuild under this levy. So will you please break through the spin for us?
Minister Donoghue will give very careful consideration to all of the issues that have been raised. However, we do have to ensure that we can fund a €2.7 billion bill on MICA that somebody will have to meet at some point in time. But we will engage. We're considering all the points that have been raised, and Minister Donoghue will respond.
Weather now, patchy outbreaks of rain will extend today. It will be mostly cloudy with occasional bright spells and highest temperatures of 13 or 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Boiler making odd noises? Feeling the spending squeeze? If you're looking for more financial flexibility, look no further than the An Post Money Flex or Classic Credit Card powered by MasterCard. With 2 great cards to choose from, you can pick the one that's right for you and feel in control again. Make your money stretch a bit further. Search An Post Money Credit Card and untangle your money today. Lending criteria, T's and C's apply. An Post acts as a credit intermediary on behalf of Avantcard DAC. An Post trading as An Post Money is authorised as a credit intermediary by the CCPC. Avantcard DAC trading as Avant Money is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. The An Post Money Credit MasterCard is issued by Avantcard DAC pursuant to licence by MasterCard.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, how are you doing? It's 3 minutes past 9. It's Thursday, the 13th of October. You're welcome along to another edition of the 9 till noon show here on your number one local radio station. It is Highland Radio. The lines are open for you right now. 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. Now, yesterday there was we ran over effectively, and we were going to be speaking and answering your questions about menopause. That's happening a little later on today as well, by the way. So if you have any questions on that, get them into us. You can call them into to 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. That's coming up after 11. Emails to comments at highlandradio.com, and if you wish to watch the show, go to our website. There's a Watch Live tab there, or you can go to Highland Radio Ireland on YouTube. Like and subscribe there if you don't mind, and also across our Facebook pages, and you can hit the bell and then you're informed when we go live here on Highland Radio. Okay, let's go to the newspapers this morning. We'll start with the locals, and obviously they are continuing to focus on the awful tragedy of last Friday as the loved ones of those that died lay their loved ones to rest. The Donegal news this morning is the funerals of the victims of the Creeslot tragedy continue. National units and local Gardaí are continuing to probe the cause of the fatal explosion in the heart of Creeslough village almost 1 week ago. 10 people lost their lives in the blast at an Applegreen filling station on Friday last at 3:20pm. One man remains in a critical condition in St James Hospital in Dublin, while 7 others injured in the explosion are being treated at Letterkenny University Hospital. The Technical Bureau, as well as other agencies and sections of An Garda Síochána, will carry out the investigation. Blast experts from overseas are also expected to be involved in the investigation. And while investigations remain at an early stage, investigators are said to be keeping an open mind about the cause of the explosion. Early indications are that a gas leak could have caused the explosion at the Applegreen complex, which also has departments and a number of businesses. On to the Donegal Democrat this morning, and the heartbreaking series of funerals of the Creeslough explosion victims continues today. The funerals of mother of 4, Martina Martin, and 14-year-old Leona Harper take place today, with popular Creeslough farmer Hugh Kelly to be laid to rest on Friday. Ms Martin was working in Lafferty's shop in Creeslough at the time when a horror blast ripped through the complex. From Bluebell Cottage, Duntally, Creeslough, Martina was formerly of Bow Park, Letterkenny, known to her friends as Tina. She had previously worked in the Healthwise Pharmacy in Ballyrain. Her funeral will be held this morning at 11am in St Michael's Church, Creeslough, followed by cremation at Lakelands Crematorium at 5pm. Her passing is deeply regretted by her children, Sean, Neil, Oisin and Grania, husband Derek, mother Nancy, brother Michael, sisters Marie, Amanda and Catherine, and brother-in-law, sisters-in-laws, mother-in-law, aunts, uncles, nephews, cousins, extended family and friends. Leona's death is deeply regretted, of course, by her family. She was a student at Mulroy College in Milford. Leona was an avid Liverpool FC fan and a keen sportswoman. She was from Mountaintop, Letterkenny, and will be buried in Termon Graveyard. That's after her funeral this afternoon at St Mary's Church, Ramelton at 2pm. And when we were speaking to Leona's mum, Donna, earlier in this week, as she took time to thank all of those that helped to recover Leona, she talked of a pink sky and what it meant to her in a moment, as not long after she'd learned of the awful tragedy. And this morning on the way to work, it was just this most splendid pink sky. It was really quite remarkable given the day that is in it. So hopefully maybe that might even bring some comfort to her family. The Tyrconnell Tribune, it's in its darkest hour of silence, Creeslough spirit whispers hope. The bells toll hauntingly in Creeslough as the funerals of those who died on Friday's unspeakable tragedy are laid to rest in a sea of grief, love and the inspiration of the liturgy. The scenes of grief are heartbreaking in a community that has shed tears of deep anguish, and the pain is intense. In late autumn, the season is unrelenting in its gathering darkness descending on the village unannounced on Friday afternoon, and the bereaved are left to mourn their loved ones. It is their greatest hour of despair and darkness. Words do not come easily, and they never will. And you can read more from John McAteer in today's Tyrconnell Tribune. On to the Derry news now. Derry's Halloween parade in jeopardy is a question they pose. Derry's internationally acclaimed Halloween Carnival parade might be in jeopardy. It's following its 2-year COVID hiatus. The parade was due to take place on Monday, October 31st. However, Derry News understands Derry City and Strabane Council has received notice from the parade's commission of a proposed protest against the event. Notice of the proposed protest has been lodged with the parade's commission by a group called United Christian Wellness. It's called United Christian Witness, which is seeking to mount its 20-strong protest between 6pm and 9pm while the Halloween Carnival Parade is in progress through the city's main thoroughfare. I don't know how they sort things out like that, but I mean, if a 20-strong protest by a group could Stop Derry's Halloween parade. There's something, the balance there is off, isn't it? Considering that tens of thousands would enjoy the parade and a group of 20 might be able to disrupt that. Of course, maybe things are a little bit different in Northern Ireland, but you'd imagine there's checks and balances to ensure that things can't be so easily disrupted. Right, on to the Nationals now, and we'll start with the Irish Independent. And they tell us that a former judge submits his report into alleged allegations of fesh fixing. Of course, a lot of people are interested in Irish dancing in this part of the world, as they are across the country and beyond. Well, the retired judge asked to investigate allegations of fesh fixing has finished his inquiry. The CLRIG, the organisation at the centre of the biggest scandal in Irish dancing, has described the cheating controversy and accompanying media scrutiny as embarrassing, disturbing and traumatic. Mr. Justice Michael Pert, a former Court of Appeal judge, has handed his report on alleged cheating to CLRG. It will now hold disciplinary hearings for those accused of fesh fixing. All of the people named in the report have been informed. It's understood Irish dancing teachers and judges accused of cheating will not be allowed to judge or officiate at any upcoming dance competitions ahead of the disciplinary hearing. Anyone accused of cheating who currently holds an elected role within the CLRG will have to temporarily step down. The completion of the investigation has opened up the possibility of the CLRG being asked before an Oireachtas committee to answer questions about the global scandal. Normally these investigations and reports run forever, but that seems to have been concluded really quite quickly. And is it the focus only on those mentioned or included in those series of controversial text messages? Must be. The scope can't be much wider than that, or surely it couldn't be completed so quickly. The controversy over Shane Ross's interview with RTE that was dropped, it's on a book he wrote about Mary Lou McDonald, rumbles on today. In the Irish Times we read that RTE told Shane Ross and his publishers that it would insist on strict conditions for an interview about his book Mary Lou McDonald, A Republican Riddle. The state broadcaster stipulated that Mr. Ross could not mention the Sinn Féin leader's house and that the word grooming should not be used about her ascent to the party's leadership. In addition, it said there should be no mention of a specific family member. The former minister publishers undertook to supply relevant parts of the book before it had been published to Sinn Féin to enable the party to have a right of reply to any points raised by Mr. Ross in the interview, which is not unusual. The interview was later dropped, leading Taoiseach Micheál Martin to question the decision in the Dáil on Tuesday and to say that RTE's decision demands greater transparency and explanation. A tape of the interview was not supplied to Sinn Féin in advance of the intended publication date. However, in a series of communications in advance of the recordings, there were several exchanges between Mr. Ross and RTE about what could and could not be discussed. Because, of course, there's certain things that you could say in a book, and if it's your own book, you're responsible for it. So if you say something that is libelous or what have you, you're on your own there. Well, your publishers would have to back you, I presume. But if you carry those same sort of allegations or statements on the likes of RTE or this station or any other, you could also, or that organisation could be found to be also liable. So I presume that is why there was some advance warning given to RTE about elements of that book. Right, the Irish Daily Mail this morning. The RTE's row with Ireland's first Eurovision winner Donna turned ugly last night after the Star's manager accused the station of lying over an invitation to take part in a special show about the contest. All previous winners will feature in tonight's RTE Concert Orchestra Eurovision night, which will be recorded live for a later broadcast. However, Donna was inexplicably omitted from the lineup despite being the first of Ireland's 7 Eurovision winners. It's been claimed her husband and manager, Damien Scallon, said Donna has kept the door open at all times. It really was quite a peculiar one not to invite her. But he went on to say, for the last 7 weeks, RTE knew that a public and personal apology from them was not unreasonable and was all that was required, he said. Clearly, everyone was confirmed to take part and advertised as such, and Donna was never asked. It has previously been reported that Donna failed to turn up for show rehearsals. However, there were no rehearsals, nor was she advised of rehearsals or asked to attend, he said. RTE said last night that it was always intended to include Donna in this concert and apologised to her for any embarrassment caused. We look forward to tomorrow's concert to celebrate Ireland's success in the Eurovision Song Contest, in which Donna has a special place, it's said. Okay, but still. On to the Farmers' Journal now, and plans to re-wet farmland blasted as a land grab. A plan to re-wet over 200,000 hectares of farmed peatland in Ireland by 2050 has been blasted as a land grab by the Irish Natura and Hill Farms Association. The EU's nature restoration law proposes that 70% of each member state's drained farmed peatland must be restored in the next 30 years, with half of this area re-wet. Payments which go against the restoration targets are to be phased out under the plan. Have you an insight into that for us? 086 60 25,000. On to the Irish Daily Star now, and Wolf Tones frontman Brian Warfield has blasted the begrudgers who called for the women's national team to apologise for singing Ooh Ah Up the Ra from their song Celtic Symphony. The Republican balladeer said the players should receive an apology instead. Brian Warfield said the song they celebrated, which was their own choice, it happened to be a great song written by me, and I support the song the whole way through. Ireland's women's team manager Vera Paugh and the FAI have apologised after a video went viral of players singing the pro-IRA chant in the dressing room after their playoff win over Scotland. Now, of course, lots and lots of people have jumped all on top of this. A lot of them from an ivory tower, seemingly. I mean, it's very, very unfortunate, and I understand that maybe those words will offend and upset people. But it is a pro-IRA chant. I mean, I suppose you could say that, but really, is that what they were singing? Were they singing a pro-IRA chant? A lot of these women weren't even born or were toddlers when the Good Friday Agreement was signed. I don't think there was a political motivation for them doing it. And I would just wonder if those that are critical of them, particularly Sky in Britain, a bit of an ambush of Chloe Mustaki on their channel yesterday. You know, you'd want to have a pretty clean background yourself to have never made a mistake, to have never got caught up in the moment, to have never done something ill-advised. You know, there's an awful lot of people writing about this with opinions on it that must have a very, very clean background. I think we've all made mistakes at one time or of another, haven't we? But in this day and age now, it's just a pylon, and it's not exclusive to the British media either. But as I say, if you're going to have a go at them, whilst I understand it could upset some people as well, but if you're going to have a go at them, you really need to have a clean background yourself. But anyway, Brian explained he wrote Celtic Symphony in 1987 to celebrate the centenary of Glasgow Celtic Football Club. Sorry, it's the Celtic Symphony. And the Up the Ra lines in it referred to graffiti he saw on a wall in a Scottish city. I think what they achieved on the pitch will live in the memory far longer than that. But it's just, again, you know, just have to make sure where the phones are at. On to the Irish Daily Mirror now. Do you ever wonder? I often wondered what people who operate Go Safe vans do with their time, because obviously, you know, they pull the van up, they open the doors, they set it up, and they get in the back of the van, and I suppose they don't have to do anything. I think most of it's automated, so what do you do in there? It'd be awful if you're in an area with bad mobile phone signal. But anyway, the operators of GoSafe speed detection vans have used their time during speed monitoring sessions to study for diploma and degrees. There's me thinking I'd be trying to watch Netflix or something. They're studying in the back of the van. That's according to the counsel for GoSafe, Kevin Bell BL, who also told the Workplace Relations Commission hearing in Ennis that GoSafe staff are not required to look at the speed cameras at all times. He told the hearing that during a 2-hour monitoring session, GoSafe employees are required to remain in the van to maintain a chain of evidence for pending prosecutions. And Mr. Bell said that GoSafe monitoring staff have used monitoring sessions to learn musical instruments, study for diplomas. So can you imagine, as you drive past that speed van, there might be someone in the back practicing the tin whistle. But they could have the books out, studying for a diploma and degrees. And more or less as they see fit, they can do whatever they like. GoSafe is contracted by the state to deploy its vans across the roads network. So if you ever wondered what's going on in the back of that van, that's just some of it. According to a rep from GoSafe themselves. And finally, if you've got smart speakers and you're being a bold boy or girl, be careful, because suspicious Jessica Lohman learned that her partner was cheating thanks to Alexa. The Amazon Home Assistant stores all verbal requests, and Jessica listened in to the recordings via the Alexa app on her phone. To her horror, she heard another woman asking for late night love songs. Jessica, 28, told The Sun, "I didn't even know Alexa stored what we say to it, but I'm so lucky it does." She had been with her boyfriend for 2 years and bought the gizmo for his house where she was basically living. She was away one Saturday night, then 10 days later saw on her app there had been unusual activity. Right, now, don't be using your smart speaker for stuff like that. You'll only get into bother. But if you want to use it to listen to Highland Radio, you'll not get into any trouble for that. So whatever it is, I know there's a big Amazon sale at the moment. Maybe you're picking up your Dot or whatever they're called, or any of your smart speakers, your Google Home or whatever. Give it the command and say stream Highland Radio, and we'll come through in crystal clear quality, because some of you listen and maybe you're just slightly on the edge of our transmission range. Get yourself a smart speaker and you can listen to us and loads of other stations in perfect quality. Okie doke, that's a run through what's making the headlines today.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans.
Farmland re-wetting blasted as land grab. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal how the EU plans to re-wet over 200,000 hectares of Irish farmland. Fertiliser importers seek scheme to protect margins. New government funding for solar farms. Big changes on the way for dairy beef welfare scheme. New 3% land tax to hit farm incomes. And we speak to Minister for Justice Helen McEntee on rural crime, parenting and domestic violence.
Inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, you cannot afford to miss it.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Get up to 50% off everything in store. All kitchen and bathroom tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware, all cladding. Everything's reduced. It's our biggest ever sale. The Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring half-price sale. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
Paul Claffey Tours are delighted to announce that we're heading back to sunny Spain for a second week in June 2023, and once again staying at the luxury Barossa Hotel Complex, Cadiz, Spain from June 15th to 22nd. Joining Paul for this unforgettable week will be some of Ireland's best love entertainers, Michael English and his band, and many friends including Brendan Shine, Dominic Kerwin, John McNichol, Jerry Guthrie, Jim Devine, John Hogan, the Stephen Smith Band, The Conquerors, John Wilson, John Malloy and more. The price is only €1,079 half board plus tax and insurance. Call 01685 2244 or see paulclaffeytours.com, and don't miss the holiday of a lifetime.
It's where you live. It's where you relax. It's where you make memories. Treat your home to a visit to Cooney's Home Interiors. We have everything in store to help recreate your home. Choose from our extensive range of suites, tables, beds, mattresses and home furnishings for every room. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny. Style and perfection at incredible value.
The High Kings, celebrating 15 years together as Ireland's favourite folk group, are back at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, December 28th, and Omagh St Enda's GAA Club, December 30th. Tickets available from venue box offices, hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Do your home appliances need updating? Your latest tech due an upgrade? Or is your TV just not as smart? Then you need Irwin Expert Electrical. With over 20 years experience and expert advice, make it Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny or Buncrana. Find us on Facebook.
Now, just to remind you of our contact details here, if you want to text or WhatsApp the show, it's 086 60 25,000, or if you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000. The caller says, I met 4 cars this morning, didn't have the lights on. It does not make any sense. Indeed, people have to be careful. We all have to be careful. And lots of cars now, modern and not so modern, have automatic lights that you just leave them on, but people are conditioned to switch them straight off, I suppose. Right, okay. We are joined by our first guest on the programme today, and that is Independent Deputy Marion Harkin. Good morning, Marion. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you hear us okay? Right, okay. We're just having a slight issue with our sound here, Marion, so stay where you are. I'll come back to you in a moment. It's not your fault. It's just a slight problem with our computer here. I know what the problem is. I'm fixing it. Another caller says it is quite laughable and stupid that we are listening to this fake ongoing outrage from the unionist community at the women's team singing a song when the official national anthem is about the men and women of Ireland fighting to free Ireland from Britain. Will they now be seeking a change to our national anthem? And I noticed too that one Sky commentator asking the Irish footballer if she knew her history. I think he probably needs to study his history as well. Okay, I have Deputy Marion Harkin with me now. Good morning to you, Deputy. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. I don't know if you can hear me at this stage.
Yes, loud and clear, Marion. It was just a little button I hadn't pressed.
On the issue that we're going to speak on, Greg, the last time I was speaking to you, which is very recent, the world was a very different place. I was on with Father John Joe Duffy speaking on your programme, I think about a week and a half ago, and it was a very different place for him and so many people in the Creeshaw area. And from my own perspective, can I say that I know the area well. It was my honour to represent all the good people there for 15 years in the European Parliament. And I suppose like most people, I have no words. All I can feel at a distance without being personally impacted is the awful sense of sadness. And in a way, I suppose, a sadness that probably has no end for many people. And we know that time will help, but this awful event has touched so many lives, and all any of us can do is send our sympathy and our very best to the community and to the families. And if there's anything that gives us a glimmer of hope, it's probably the words of that young boy yesterday at his dad's funeral when he told all of us to value our families and to value our own lives and to spend that time well. So I just want to say that, Greg, before we start.
Yeah, indeed. And you know, what I feel or whatever means nothing compared to what everyone's going through, but I just haven't been able to watch or listen to that interview yet. I just didn't feel strong enough in a way. So, you know, if that's how it's touching us a little bit removed from it, you can only imagine. You can only imagine how it's impacting those directly affected by it. Okay.
All we can do is send our best thoughts, our best wishes, our best, whatever our best is. That's all we can send to those people who've been caught up in this shocking event. And we, like all humans, all we can try to do is find a bit of hope somewhere, find something in all of this that will perhaps show some kind of a pathway forward. And I sometimes say out of the mouth of babes, younger people can say what's in their heads and in their minds without all of the extra stuff that's going on in all our lives. And I think he said it very clearly.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to talk now too about the issue of radiotherapists in Galway University Hospital. We are in this situation which is bad enough in and of itself, that many people who need cancer treatment have to travel great distances down to Galway, for example, for treatment. Now, even that is now being complicated because of staff shortages. So what are you being told by people, the problems that they're facing, Marion?
The problem is a severe shortage of radiation therapists. And as you say, about half of those, of anybody who has a cancer diagnosis, will need radiation therapy as part of their treatment plan, as part of a multidisciplinary treatment plan. Now, the treatment be delivered by radiation therapists, a multidisciplinary team, and they're the only profession that have the legal authority to deliver. And as you say, for most patients, we're talking about Galway. Look, radiation therapy waiting lists have increased by nearly 50% since last year, and that's due to a chronic shortage of therapists. to carry out this treatment. And at the moment, around 15% of all of the radiation therapist positions are vacant. And I believe from emails I've received from radiation therapists who work in Galway that the level of vacancy in Galway is closer to 20% than to 15%. So that gives some.
So, what is the cause of this then? I mean, clearly there must be a recruitment stroke retention problem. I presume these positions are funded, and presumably people had to leave for one reason or another. So, I mean, I know there is a review ongoing, but that's going to be the nuts and bolts of it, surely.
That's part of the problem. I mean, I've been putting down written questions about this for some time because obviously I was alerted to it. And the answer that keeps coming back is, yes, we have a review in place for the workplace, but that's ongoing for the best part of 2 years since it was asked for, because obviously people in the profession recognised that there is a problem with recruitment and retention. And part of the real problem here is the fact that there's, first of all, a lack of advanced practice within the profession. So people cannot advance within their profession. And the way that if you look at several other countries, in particular the UK, Australia, New Zealand, that has been dealt with. And people within that profession can advance. And that's a big, and also the whole area of workforce planning. So this can be dealt with. It's about looking at good models and good practice everywhere, and about proper pay scales for those who work in this area. People are voting with their feet. They're leaving and they're moving, and cancer patients are paying a price. And Greg, I don't say that lightly, because there's too many people listening to your program today, and there will be tomorrow, who will, that'll strike fear into their heart. So I don't say that because it's an opinion I have. I say that because that's what the emails that I received from the radiation therapists and from SIPTU, their union, who represent them, that's what they are saying.
Okay, so if I'm reading it correctly, then there's a bit of a glass ceiling in this area of work, that if you are ambitious or if you want to progress your career, you might find yourself stagnant or stuck in this particular area if you want to grow yourself. But this is not the only area within the HSE I've heard this about. I think in some of our laboratories and other areas, the same complaint is being made. So whilst the health minister is having a look at this area, perhaps he needs to cast the net a bit wider then, because it's not radiotherapy expertise and experts. They're not the only ones that we're missing because of this lack of career progression, amongst other things.
Oh, they're not the ones, but I suppose they're the ones where at the moment. But you're right. It's a bigger issue within the health service to look at the ability of people to progress their careers, because that's a perfectly reasonable thing to want to do. And also the poor pay scales for this particular profession. But it's perfectly reasonable to want to move ahead to progress in your career. And for patients, when radiation therapists are leaving the profession, when they're not able to attract numbers to keep the profession at a level that can give the service that people need. Because, as I said, cancer treatment is time sensitive, and patients, are paying the price. I mean, just one email, I've loads of them here in front of me that I've received, Greg, but she says, I'm a senior radiation therapist in Galway University Hospital, and she said, I want to highlight the atrocious capacity issue in radiation oncology. She says, we are at a staffing deficit of 20%, and it's only getting worse. Waiting lists are getting longer, and the amount of patients who are returning for treatment due to secondary cancers is becoming increasingly common. And her question is, how much longer do we have to wait for a solution forward? We have the WRC in review at the moment, but no real progress is being made. So my effort is to try and speed that up, put the pressure on, to put the focus, Get this moving, get it done. We can solve this problem. Just do it.
All right, okay. Listen, Marion Harkin, thanks for that. Deputy Marion Harkin there. Apologies for the sound, not fantastic there. But hopefully you are stuck with it because it's such an important issue. Hello, maybe this could be highlighted to your listeners. This was recorded this morning, and I'll have to describe what the video was. It was yesterday morning, in fact. The diesel on the sign outside the service station was 192.9, right? Okay, so they said, right, I'm going to pull in here and fill up. But at the pump read 199.9. Now, I presume what's happened here is perhaps someone hasn't adjusted the sign or someone dropped the ball in that regard. But just to keep an eye out to make sure when you are filling your vehicle that the price on the sign, and I've seen the video, by the way, so I can testify that it's accurate. The price of the diesel on the sign, you know, the big signs on the roadside, was not 192.9, but when they were actually at the pump and filling their car, 199.9. Diesel heading back over €2, it would seem.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by Business Development Executive with Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce and founder of Moss Marketing, Marie Shields. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. Business Matters podcast is also available to download at hineradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, execed at atu.ie today.
At On Post, we believe in giving you more power over how you bank. That's why AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week. That's right, your bank is in your post office for personal and business banking alike, meaning you can bank wherever you live or work. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. On Post. Your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents the world's greatest ABBA show. Direct from Sweden, Arrival, featuring original ABBA musician. Sunday the 8th of January, Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Follow us on Facebook, Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Hello, Farmer Tinny here. The Christmas Club is now open at Tinny's Toys Letterkenny. Loads of top brand toys in stock. Number 1 in Donegal for electric ride-on toys, pedal farm toys and go-karts. Buy now and pay later with Klarna. No extra charges. Check us online at tinnystoys.com or call into our Leck Road store Letterkenny. Tinny's Toys, your local toy store. Down boy.
Okay, our next guest on the programme is Councillor Nicholas Crossan. Good morning, Nicholas. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg, and thanks for having me on. Thank you.
Right, okay, we're speaking about a public meeting. It's taking place in the Lake of Shadows, Buncrana, next Monday at 7:30. And already plans afoot. We haven't had the Christmas light switch on yet. We haven't had Halloween yet, but you're looking forward to St. Patrick's Day. Why so early? I suppose that's what's required for proper organisation, is it?
Well, that's the reason that we're calling the meeting, Greg, is because we feel that we need an injection into the St. Patrick's Day in Buncrana. And we're looking for members of the public, people that participate every year in it, but in particular business people, to give a pledge for more support and more participation for 2023. And we're looking forward to having a few people along at the meeting on Monday night.
Yeah, we talk about, public sentiment when things get tight, but there's also business sentiment. And I suppose businesses are facing into a difficult winter. But I suppose you're inviting them to maybe try and look beyond that and see what the benefits of a successful St. Patrick's Day parade in Buncrana might be.
Yeah, well, I would possibly say, Greg, that the St. Patrick's Day parade in Buncrana attracts more people for a single day into Buncrana than any other event throughout the year. It's a huge injection for our local economy, our small shops, restaurants and our pubs, and even the hotels where people come and stay in for the St. Patrick's Day or St. Patrick's weekend. So it's a huge cash injection for the businesses, and that's why we're calling this public meeting, to ask the business people to come along, to put in their ideas and new, fresh ideas of what we want to attract more people into the town.
So tell us what's happening then on Monday night, besides the obvious.
There's just two of us on the committee, Mickey McHugh, who's done all coming up on 20 years, and I've done over 30 years, so there's a bit of experience that we'll be sitting back. But we're sitting back listening to ideas coming from the public and from the business, how we can attract more people, how we can get more people involved. We have asked scouts, schools, clubs, businesses to take part year in and year out. We only can do so much, Greg. We can organise the emergency service, we can organise bands, we can organise music beforehand, we can organise kind of functions on the street beforehand and after, but that's all we can do. We can't physically ask, we can ask the people to take part in the parade, but it's really up to people to take part in the parade, and if the people don't take part in the parade, there's going to be no parade.
And I suppose, too, it's about seeing what it can grow into, too, rather than just, I know it's not simply just the parade, but what across the whole day can be organised.
Yeah, like at that time of the year, the days are getting a bit longer. We've been very lucky with the weather so far with St. Patrick's Day that we never had to cancel through bad weather. But like from early morning, there could be attractions for children, there could be vintage car shows, there could be vintage tractor shows, all added onto the day prior to the parade that people go along and inspect these. Band competitions, but it's very difficult to get bands. We have bands booked for next year already. And this is what we can do, but we need help. And we do have an awful lot of help on the day, but we need help at organising to get these events sorted.
Yeah, and a bigger committee too. I mean, I know you referenced that, but there's a lot of work, and if you lost interest and your colleague lost interest, well, then who would be there to organise it?
Well, this is you got to have, like somebody else said, I look after the bands. Would you look after something else? And can you look after the emergency service? Can you look after? So we certainly do. We need an injection of more people and new ideas, because I believe that we're getting a bit of staleness has crept into it, and we need an injection for it for St. Patrick's Day in Buncrana.
Yeah, and you want the input of younger people as well, and that's not to suggest that you're over the hill or anything, don't get me wrong, but you would welcome that. You'd welcome that.
There's
too.
life in the old dog yet,
well,
Greg, don't worry.
I was trying to make sure I didn't come across like I was saying it, but I
know exactly.
But I think I kind of made it worse. No, but my point is, like maybe there's things that you haven't looked at before, or maybe, we could try this for something different. That's even young ideas, Nicholas, not necessarily young people. You know where I'm coming from.
You have hit the nail on the head, Greg. As I said, I'm there over 30 years. We need new ideas. We have to, and this is where somebody comes in and they're saying maybe the obvious, but they say, oh my God, yeah, we never thought about that. Yes, exactly. We need new blood in there. We need new ideas, and we need an injection of ideas, and to help to not only to add on, to make it better and extend the day. I want to extend the day, make it a real. I always say it's the first family day of the year, of the new year out. We want to make it a more family day in Buncrana.
All right, I'm going to let you go now. I think your signal's starting to let us down, but the point was made clear. Everyone is welcome. Is it particularly businesses or the wider community at the meeting on Monday night, Nicholas, just finally?
I would like a cross-section of business. Perfect. And the general public. Greg, just can I before I go, just put in my condolences, my thoughts for the people of Greashla over the past week.
Understood and noted. Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Nicholas Crossan. That public meeting for all stakeholders to be held in the Lake of Shadows, Buncrana, on Monday evening at 7:30 p.m. To discuss preparing for St. Patrick's Day next year. And, it feels like, God, that's really early, isn't it? But, it'll be no time at all before it's St. Patrick's Day. That's just the way things go. More of your comments here. A lot of people backing the Irish squad. It's ridiculous in this day and age that people still get offended over songs about our Irish heritage, songs about the people of Ireland who fought for our freedom, whereas the British continue to wear poppies, yet lambast anyone who does not choose to wear one. James McLean, for example. Also, Rule Britannia still continues to be sung without criticism. The very people complaining about this are blind to our history, and I'm glad to see the Celtic Symphony reach number 1 in the iTunes chart and also the British charts. I know that song. And you think if I could say for clarity whether it's Celtic or Celtic, I think it's Celtic, isn't it? Exactly. But again, you know, I genuinely don't feel that any of those women that were singing that song were doing so in support necessarily of the IRA. They were just singing a song. That's what I think. Now, as I say, I do recognise, and I have to recognise, that some people might feel that offensive. But as the caller mentioned there, you know, some people might find the poppy offensive as well. Some union lobbyists just love to be outraged by anything Irish or anything anyway Republican. They really want a hard border, but pretend that they don't. This is why they wanted Brexit and want to change or get rid of the protocol. They should come out and admit it, because everybody knows it. I think there's a bit of a change in this country, you know, about people standing up for themselves a little bit more on these issues. But anyway, short reminder on the Sun controversy, not just about unionists. Remember, Oma too, just better if we move forward, not having these pro-trouble songs as part of our culture at all. Again, I understand, but I really genuinely don't think any of those women were singing that song as a pro-trouble song. Just to say, Donna and husband were at the Rosary in Creasla last night, went around talking to people, a nice gesture. Okay, actually, it's nice to know. Deirdre, a caller from a few weeks ago regarding trying to close her Ulster Bank account and getting bank charges. Greg, I'm just delighted. After I was on air, Highland Radio gave me a call to put me in touch with someone from Ulster Bank, and we got everything sorted. Thank you. All right, Deirdre, I think you might have been speaking to Donal on that occasion. I usually remember things, and I don't quite remember that, so I imagine maybe you were speaking to Donal, but glad either way that you got the situation resolved. All right, let's take a quick break as we line up our next guest.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
Hurry! The Furniture Show NI ends this weekend. Your last chance to save with massive discounts from leading brands in furniture and interiors. From sofas, beds, flooring and design. CFC have it all reduced in their biggest sale. Don't miss the Furniture Show NI exclusively at CFC Interiors Campsie, Derry.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Hegarty's Auto Body Repairs in Letterkenny have been keeping cars on the road across the northwest for the past 50 years. Hegarty's are the only Ford-approved body shop in the northwest, but repair all makes and models. Paintless dent removal, windscreen replacement and restoration work. Hegarty's even mix their own paint. Approved by most insurance companies and certified Steel Standards Ireland. That's Hegarty's Auto Body, Letterkenny. For all vehicle repairs. See Hegartys.com.
Nutria's winter beef feed offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutria's Super Beef Gold ATP or Nutria's Max Maize Mix, get one free. The Nutria's Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrias.ie for full product details.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, let's have a look at the weather forecast now, which has just gone from my screen. Patchy outbreaks of rain will extend across the region today, though there will be some decent dry intervals as well. Mostly cloudy with occasional bright spells, highest temperatures of around 13 to 14 degrees. Now, you heard the powerful words from Father John Joe Duffy, who has just been unbelievable over the last number of days, and before that, of course, but particularly the last couple of days, about the importance of, if you need help, to seek help, or even if you're unsure if you need help, to reach out to see if you do. John McCardle, who's Area Director of Mental Health and Nursing in Donegal, is back on the programme with us again. And of course, John, when we spoke last, I suppose a little bit of time has passed since, and it's important to get this message out to people again, especially with the support line in place for those impacted by the recent tragedy in Creasla. It is 087 140 5138, and we'll mention that a few times. The purpose, good morning to you, John, and the purpose of this support line.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for the opportunity to get this information out to the public. The purpose of the line is to provide direct access for the members of the public, particularly those that are impacted by the tragedy, to professional support and advice and other types of information that may be of support to them,
Yeah, okay. So someone rings this telephone line. What happens then?
Well, the line is open Monday to Friday between 9 and 5. They will get to speak to someone directly. Their details will be taken. And depending on the circumstances, there may be a variety of opportunities offered to them. They may get the opportunity to speak to a professional directly if they think that will be able to resolve the issue. There will also be the opportunity maybe to go into one of our support workers in Dunfanny Health Centre, where we're keeping that open on a 7-day-a-week access now at the present, and we'll review that as things progress,
People might be able to self-identify their needs, but I think we'll go through some of them just in case it is the little encouragement that people need. I'm thinking of parents, for example, who may have children or a teenager who is affected by this, or maybe they feel they are, but are not necessarily expressing it. Maybe they're a school friend or of a school where a young person very sadly passed away. A parent or guardian caregiver of one of those children, teens, can ring this helpline as well.
They can ring this helpline, give them the opportunity to talk over their problems, share their concerns, and then depending on those concerns, they may get advice to go and talk to somebody directly in Dunfanny, or they may get advice to go to their GP and get a referral into the CAM service, and our CAM service will be prioritising any referrals that come in from this incident, and will be giving them an urgent assessment as soon as possible, So there's a range of services on offer there depending upon the circumstances.
There are people out there who might feel affected by this, but feel they can't really speak to their family about it. Maybe they want to be the strong person in the family, and they are. I'm not questioning that for a moment. But maybe in this moment, as they step up to be the leader, they might not realise that maybe they need to speak to someone too. Again, often outside the house, maybe that might be of benefit to them.
Yes, well, there may be people out there who are being currently overwhelmed by sadness. They may be experiencing a lot of anxiety. They may be experiencing nightmares or flashbacks, depending upon their involvement in the situation. And they may not wish to share those things with their family because it may be just too difficult. So I would encourage them to lift the phone to this support line. They'll get to talk it through with someone, and again, their circumstances will be assessed on the line, and they will be given appropriate advice, linking them in with further services should that be available. Again, that may be through the GP, where we have a wide range of support services, and there's also a range of services in the community and voluntary sector. So there are good opportunities here for people to avail of, and it can be done in a private and confidential way.
Again, just that number, 087 140 5138, and people might through the day feel they're functioning okay, but have those flashbacks, those nightmares. Again, don't self-diagnose. Ring the number, and you can speak to a professional who knows all the signs. And if you need some additional supports, they'll be there for you.
Some of these signs at times of acute trauma are part of the natural process of the body trying to heal itself and commencing the process of recovery. But I think it's more important that people would check that up with somebody who's professional and can give them, reassurance, even if it is that situation, or if it's more serious, they'll be able to get them linked in directly. So I think it is important that people come forward and check it out rather than continue to suffer in the difficulties that they may be experiencing,
Yeah, and it's people of all ages and those who might be on their own as well, that might not have someone to talk to. And it might be more difficult for certain people of certain ages or whatever to pick up the phone again, because this could be you could be 90 or 9, and this could be the first time you've come across something like this so close that might feel it so directly affecting you.
Absolutely. No, this is going to be something that people haven't experienced before. And it is important, irrespective of how old or how young they are. This is for every single member of the community to be able to access. And it's just another route. It's not the only route of access, but it's just another route of access that they will be able to avail of. And most people nowadays have a mobile phone, with the exception of maybe some very few in the community. So this will give them direct access wherever they may be, sitting in their car, maybe by the beach or out for a walk or anything else. The opportunity will be there for them.
All right. Now, I mean, obviously, everyone's sort of individual and will pick up the phone when they feel ready. With that in mind, do we know how long this support line might be in place? I'm not looking for an end date, but is there a provisional sort of run time for it?
No, we'll run this support line for as long as we feel that it's serving the public with access to the service. So we will be monitoring it, but typically from our previous experience in these situations, it can run for several weeks to several months, depending upon the needs of the public.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. John McCardle, Area Director of Mental Health Nursing in Donegal. So the support line specifically for those impacted by the recent tragedy in Creeslough. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be from the Creeslough area either, by the way. I'm fully conscious that people have connections or no connections and are also deeply impacted by this. 087 140 5138. 087 140 5138. There is no shame or weakness in ringing that number. You register your details, a professional will give you a ring. Do it for you and for those around you. If you're a little bit reluctant. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by sadness, anxiety, or other reactions, normal, seek help. If you're unable to sleep or having a nightmare, flashbacks relating to the incident, that's normal. Call the number. If you're worried about your child, why wouldn't you be? Ring the number. If you've no one else to talk to, give them a call, 087 140 5138. And if you're having practical difficulties since the tragedy, which you need support to resolve, ring the number, 087 140 5138. The line's open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. Back after the news.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
We wish you a...
It may be too early for Christmas carols, but it's never too early to start the Christmas shopping. Save hundreds, possibly thousands of euros shopping online with Space Hub Derry. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your Christmas parcels and post. Save hundreds, possibly thousands on customs charges this Christmas with Space Hub Derry. Call 04871 878077 for more details.
To get that job done, call Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny. Generators, portaloos and lighting towers, also diggers, dumpers, rollers and much more, with short-term, long-term and weekend special rates available. Call Gortley Sales and Hire on 9126276.
Sometimes it's just bad luck, but sometimes it's negligence. From minor bumps to life-changing injury, every accident has a story. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll assess the situation, advise on solutions, and lead the way if any litigation is to follow. From motor accidents and workplace accidents to slips, trips and falls, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. Let's get you started on the road to recovery. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help? In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
We know every business is different, from coffee stalls to car dealerships and footwear. But behind every door, hatch and counter, they all have one thing in common: payments. At AIB Merchant Services, we provide payment solutions that work as hard as you do, building systems to fit your business needs, whether that's in-store, online or on the go. Search AIBMS.com for more. AIB Merchant Services, your partner in payments. First Merchant Processing Ireland DAC Trading as AIB Merchant Services is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The High Kings, celebrating 15 years together as Ireland's favourite folk group, are back at the Millennium Forum Derry on the 26th and 27th of January. Tickets available from Millennium Forum box office and millenniumforum.co.uk. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The funeral of 49-year-old mother of four, Martina Martin, who lost her life in the Creeslaw explosion, will get underway within the next hour. She was working in Lafferty's filling station on Friday when the blast happened. 14-year-old Leona Harper, meanwhile, who was in the shop buying ice cream that afternoon, will be buried later today following funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Ramelton. The people of Creeslaw and its surrounding areas are being asked to prioritise their mental health and engage in services that are available to those impacted by the tragedy. Free counselling is available from specialist support teams and a dedicated helpline has been set up. Parish priest Father John Joe Duffy says it's important locals look after their mental health.
Each person who is affected by it, people who may not have been at the scene or may not be directly related, please make use of the services that are available in our surgery and at the medical centre and contact your GPs.
Gardaí are continuing to investigate an assault on a teenager in Letterkenny this week. The attack took place at around 5 o'clock on Tuesday evening on the Ramelton Road. The male teenager was hospitalised for treatment to his injuries. Gardaí say no arrests have been made, but investigations are ongoing. The Finance Minister is considering all submissions made following the announcement of a defective blocks levy in last month's budget. During exchanges in the Dáil, Sinn Féin's Matt Carthy told Minister Michael McGrath that there have been rumours about what may or may not happen with the levy and that they need to be addressed. He said the levy is set to penalise the very people it's supposed to support.
Those families that were actually impacted by the defective block scandal and the Celtic Tiger era fire safety defects will actually be forced to pay more to rebuild under this levy. So will you please break through the spin for us?
Minister Donoghue will give very careful consideration to all of the issues that have been raised. However, we do have to ensure that we can fund a €2.7 billion bill on MICA that somebody will have to meet at some point in time. But we will engage. We're considering all the points that have been raised, and Minister Donoghue will respond.
A discussion between EU energy ministers on imposing a block-wide price cap on the price of gas ended unresolved yesterday. That's according to Minister Eamon Ryan, who says it's an incredibly complex situation. The Energy Minister also admitted he doesn't expect to see those problems solved by next week. Minister Ryan says the group did have successful talks about common purchasing agreements and plans to negotiate with providers.
But there was a lot of progress on other issues, and it's very important that we do stay united and we have a European response to this energy crisis that shows real resolve. And that is there. My experience in this Energy Council, which has been meeting now an emergency session almost every second week for the past number of months, is that we are united and we will get through this incredibly difficult period.
And preparations are already getting underway for St Patrick's Day celebrations in Buncrana next year. A public meeting is being held on Monday at the Lake of Shadows Hotel at 7:30. The committee is inviting members of the public, business owners and existing supporters to come along. Councillor Nicholas Crossan says support is vital for the success of the event.
We have asked scouts, schools, clubs, businesses to take part year in and year out. We only can do so much. We can organise the emergency service, we can organise bands, we can organise music beforehand, we can organise kind of functions on the street beforehand and after. But that's all we can do. We can ask the people to take part in the parade, but it's really up to people to take part in the parade. And if the people don't take part in the parade, there's going to be no parade.
Weather now, patchy outbreaks of rain will extend today. It will be mostly cloudy with occasional bright spells and highest temperatures of 13 or 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notice is for this Thursday morning, October the 13th. The death has taken place of Gwen Crawford, née McGlynn, Glinford, Lifford and formerly of Lisclune, Dunnamana, reposing at her home today from 12 noon. Funeral from there on Saturday morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock at 11 o'clock, followed by interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers placed to the Donegal Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live at clonleyparish.com. The death has taken place of Dennis Doherty, Carramore, Glentocher, Carndonagh. His remains will repose this evening at his brother Jerry and Joan Doherty's residence in Carramore, Glentocher from 5 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place in the Philippines of Ellis Cardoza, Philippines, son of Vilma Cardoza and stepson of Charlie Gilday, Ardra. Burial will take place on Sunday in the Philippines. House in Ardra is private, please. The death has occurred of Brendan Ronan, 34 Caleta Road, Castlederg. Funeral from the family home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Castlederg, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. The death has taken place of Brendan James Malloy, Drumbarn, Ardra, reposing at 18 Ardnagrania, Ardra from 12 noon until 10 o'clock tonight, with house private please at all other times. Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning at the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The tragic death has occurred in Creeslaw of Hugh Kelly, Castledoe, Creeslaw, Donegal. His remains are reposing at Lacca Bridge, Creeslaw. Funeral Mass in St Michael's Church, Creeslaw, tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in Doe Cemetery. Mass can be viewed on mcmmedia.tv. Family time please from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. And the death has taken place of Patricia Mann Burns, Gortnasilla, Glenties, reposing at Chauvelin's Funeral Home, Sandfield, Ardra, this afternoon from 1 o'clock, with service at the funeral home at 2 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the Church of Ireland Cemetery, Church Road, Glenties. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
At On Post, we believe in giving you more power over how you bank. That's why AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week. That's right, your bank is in your post office for personal and business banking alike, meaning you can bank wherever you live or work. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. On Post, your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Thank you very much for rejoining us here, or good morning if you've just joined us. The lines are open. Lots to come on the programme today. A little later on, by the way, we have a specialist on menopause joining us after 11. So if you have any questions in relation to that, if that they may be able to help with, get in touch right now, 086 60 25,000. WhatsApp or text that number or call 07491 25,000. Carol, I know we're taking your calls, or send a message on our socials, no problem there whatsoever. Actually, I'm saying this not in any way to... I'm saying this not in any way to sort of say anything good about myself, right, if you understand, but Just it came to mind earlier in the week that, you know, maybe now's an opportunity with everything we're going through and the difficult times and all, that maybe, you know, if there's someone in our lives that we're not connected to, that we could reconnect. Sometimes people fall out or drift apart or for whatever the reason is. Anyway, I just said it off the top of my head. But interestingly, I've been contacted by 3 or 4 people since to say that they've been contacted by someone or they've reached out to someone, which is nice, isn't it? And it's not off the back of what I said per se as such. I don't mean it like that as to say, I'm not trying to say I did anything as such. But there are people out there now today who are back texting or received a call from someone they hadn't received for some time, and the mention was referenced. So that's nice, isn't it? That there are people reconnecting again. It would fit Nicholas Crossan better to firstly get things organised for our youth and young people in the town. There's absolutely nothing for them to do. For years, they know this and are not interested, not even a wee teen disco, for God's sake. But unfortunately, Nicholas Crossan will be able to speak to him himself, speak for himself. But, I mean, that's something from the private sector, really, that needs to be launched. You need a local entertainment spot to provide that. It's beyond the scope of the local authority. But other facilities definitely, I'm sure you could certainly say the local authority could work on. Greg, we've all dodgy songs that might offend someone. Maybe we in Ireland should be jumping up and down getting offended by God Save the King or Queen, which is not exactly an anthem of peace and love. Firstly, send him victorious. What would Charles need to be victorious at these days? Maybe he still plays a bit of polo, or maybe it's for all the racehorses he owns. There's another verse asking God to scatter their enemies and make them fall, etc. Not the kind of thing you normally think of when talking to God. They're also presuming that God's on their side. All these who are outraged about a short video on YouTube might want to reflect on what they are singing about when they sing that anthem, as no doubt at one stage Ireland would have been one of those enemies they wanted crushed. Yet this anthem is sung regularly in the UK and on live TV. Read the debacle over the video of the Irish ladies up the raw chance. Bit of hypocrisy from Wolf Tones to draw a line under the issue when only a few months ago they were outraged over a particular chance in an orange hall. I think the chants in the Orange Hall were very, very specific to a family and an individual. And I think anyone would find those absolutely horrendous. The Up the Ra chants, as part of that song, there are some people that are going to find that very, very offensive. But I really don't think it's on the same scale here at all. I wonder, could Councillor Nicholas Crossan use his energy elsewhere and try to do bigger things for Buncrana? For example, getting us a paper plastic recycling centre. All we have is a bottle bank. No help was given to inject new business into our town since the close of Fruit of the Loom. I get what you're saying, but Nicholas Crossan's just one of 2 people that are trying to do something for Buncrana on St. Patrick's Day. And people texting if they're from Buncrana might turn up, or if nothing's on, they might go, well, why is there nothing going on? Look at, let's support them in what they're trying to do, because everything, businesses, young people, older people, everyone benefits from a vibrant St. Patrick's Day parade, don't they? So let's support them in what they're doing in that regard. This is what I would feel anyway. And if there's other things that also need attention, well, let's organise a committee. Anyone can get a committee together, get a campaign group together, get something going on the ground for more facilities for youth. I think, expecting them all to do it, is it going to happen? I don't know. They might try. They might drop a motion in here or there. But they're trying to get something for the community for St. Patrick's Day. I would encourage that and sort of support them in that. But also, sometimes we ourselves have to get together and plug holes that we feel need plugged as well. We can't always look to the councillors. Hi, I'd like to give a shout out to Charlene and Rosaline McFadden in Huckleberry Cafe, Creasla. Very good support, very good in supporting their people by providing free soup, tea and sandwiches this last week for anyone. They're only taking donations to supply further basic foods to the locals and elderly who now have no shop. The community support is great in our town. It is amazing, and we'll all remember that. Many of us have been to Creasla, stopped in Creasla, stayed in Creasla, I among them, and we'll remember that too and support these businesses down the line. We're on to Bus Éireann again off the back of a conversation with a father whose child missed out on the bus. They're considering one of them in the house having to give up work because they're running backwards and forwards as it relates to trying to get the children on a bus. This is the gentleman, remember, that was contacted by Bus Éireann and says, if we've got one ticket, there's two families, we're going to run a draw and we'll contact you later to find out if you've got a seat or not. And he was contacted by Bus Éireann and they said, sorry, you didn't win the lotto today. That ticket's going to another family. This bus also, we're told, has spare seats on it. It is possible people applied for the free tickets that didn't need them. They didn't perhaps think at that time that they were going to displace someone who did, but they were free. So you apply just in case. Might as well have it in case I take a week off work and I can throw the young one on the bus. I don't know. That's probably what people did. But for the most part, there's seats on these buses that are empty and there's children that need them effectively standing on the side of the road. So Bus Éireann got back onto us as we had made contact with them. They say that every eligible applicant in Donegal who applied by the well-publicised deadline of the 29th of July has received a place on school transport. Now, they say it was a well-advertised date. Were you notified? How were you notified that July 29th was the cut-off date? Also, too, there was a question mark about how clear it was that you had to draw down your ticket, so to speak. But they say that almost 11,000 tickets have been issued in the county, an increase of 18% compared to last year, which is impressive, and that's the majority of people that are well catered for. We're not talking about them. We're delighted for them. We're talking about those that have missed out. They go on to say then that applications submitted after the 29th of July are deemed late. With the increased demand this year, many school transport services are full, including a service to Letterkenny Educate Together National School. They say, we apologise for the delay in responding to emails. There have been exceptional pressures on the school transport team this year. In the event that seats become available on services, our local school transport office will contact the family directly, as has already happened in the case in this instance. And yes, indeed, Bus Éireann did contact the gentleman we spoke to, but were to offer no solution. So the language has changed here now. We're not talking about supplying extra buses or anything like that there. I read from this Bus Éireann statement is if you've missed out, you've missed out now. And your only hope is that seats magically become available. Now, unless they do an audit of seats that are being used or not used, which I don't think they're going to do, I don't see how seats might become available. So unfortunately, if you have a child and that your child doesn't have a seat on a bus, they are pretty much done and dusted providing seats until such time as a seat becomes available if someone else no longer needs it. Okay, so that kind of, it doesn't draw a line under it from our perspective, but to some extent it sounds like Bus Éireann are drawing a line under it, other than continuing to make seats available if they become available. They seem to be drawing a line under it.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 13th of October, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €11,200 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S4. It's game number 41. The jackpot number is 70. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers: 24, 31, 64, 1, 43, 46, 53, 11, 76, and finally 29. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
The Donegal Texel Sheep Breeders will hold a sale of 60 rams in Raffoul Livestock Mart this Friday, October 14th at 7 p.m. Online bidding on the Mart Bids app. That's this Friday evening at 7 in Reformart.
Wild Atlantic Way adventures await you this autumn with a midweek escape to the luxury Radisson Blu Hotel and Spa Sligo from just €125 with complimentary breakfast each morning. Indulge in afternoon tea overlooking Sligo Bay. Relax with a treatment at the spa. Enjoy a delicious meal in the brasserie. Sit back and relax in Waves Bar or surround yourself with the best of Sligo's outdoor pursuits right on your doorstep. Book now at radsligo.com for the perfect autumn midweek escape.
We wish you a...
It may be too early for Christmas carols, but it's never too early to start the Christmas shopping. Save hundreds, possibly thousands of euros shopping online with Space Hub Derry. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your Christmas parcels and post. Save hundreds, possibly thousands on customs charges this Christmas with Space Hub Derry. Call 04871 878077 for more details.
The car brand behind Ioniq 5, World Car of the Year 2022, is the same car brand behind the Tucson, Ireland's best-selling car. This car brand is Hyundai. Order for 2023 at the Hyundai Open Weekend this Saturday and Sunday in dealerships nationwide. Hyundai, home of World Car of the Year, Ioniq 5.
Your local dealer is Differs Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Open this Saturday 10 to 4 and Sunday from 12 to 4.
Pat joins us now. He's a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Good morning, Pat. Thanks for taking the call.
Thanks, Greg, for asking.
Good to have you with us. We're speaking ahead of Alcoholics Anonymous, holding a Donegal convention this weekend in the Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny. Before we talk about that, can we talk a bit about you, Pat, if that's okay, just in case it influences or inspires people? You haven't had a drink in 27 years.
Yeah, that's right. A day at a time, though. A day at a time.
And is it like that, Pat? For I mean, everyone's different, but is it even after 27 years, it still feel like a day at a time?
Yeah, it's important that I remember that it's a day at a time. It's the gift, really, that I don't think I would have been able to say I'd stay off drink for life. I needed to take it one day at a time. It just seemed impossible to me to give up drink forever. So a day at a time is just a simple message for me to not have a drink one day at a time.
Yeah,
that's
taken in bite sizes. And would you identify as an alcoholic, Pat, still at this stage? Pardon my ignorance, but it's just to get a full understanding of it.
Yeah, I would. I am an alcoholic till the day I die. Really,
yeah.
Alcoholic will be.
All right, we've lost Pat. We'll get him back in a second because it is an important issue. We're speaking ahead of Alcoholics Anonymous. They're holding a Donegal convention this weekend in the Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny. He's had a little technical issue there. Greg, I'm an Irish Protestant and very annoyed that Ulster Unionists haven't made as much condemning the Orange Order to the same extent for the very sickening song sang about Mickey Hart's daughter sang in an Orange Hall. Okay, I understand. So you're saying that they... Right, okay, thank you for that. Greg, Rebel songs were regularly played on the Irish team bus in Jack Charlton's time, and of course, Jack was an Englishman and a World Cup winner. I'd nearly guess that they are still played nowadays. They're played to psych up the players before games. I'd say there are very few Irish people who haven't had a sing-along to an Al Rebel song at a social gathering or party over the years, and that's the point I was trying to make, you see. Those that are being critical of it and those that are trying to sort of, cancel these young women, I wonder, are their copybooks completely blot free? Did they ever find themselves at that clapping or chanting or something at some event? As I say, if you're going to take a high moral ground on issues like this, you really need to be clear you're not in a glass house. But they go on to say that most of these songs record our troubled history, which unfortunately is littered with terrible events, mostly due to our near neighbours who decided to invade our little country. If you look at all conflicts in the world, there's a fair chance that Britain had a hand in most of them. So those on Sky Sports might want to get off their high horse and maybe read a bit of their own warmongering history. The Union Jack is not called the butcher's apron for nothing. But again, I suppose if we're going to move on, we have to move on, don't we? As much as we can. Right, Pat's back with me now, I hope. Pat, sorry about that. We lost you.
Yeah, that was on my side, Greg. So it was. I tried to decline a call, but it came up.
You declined Greg in the end, but look, we have you back, and that's the important thing. So when did you start drinking, Pat?
Well, I started drinking at very young. Yeah, I was brought up in a pub, so I was always enamoured with the men outside the counter. So I don't actually know, but I know I had my first drink today. I absolutely remember having the first drink today. I was confirmed because that was just the way it was for me. I like as insane as it sounds, that's what happened in my case, you know. And then it just started. Didn't really do anything for a while, and in my teenage years, it just sort of like if I needed to do anything other than sport, really, I was mad into sport. I could pick up a football and do anything I wanted with it. But if I wanted to go out or be social, I'd had to have a drink to actually talk to people and stuff.
And were you drinking a lot in your teenage years in terms of quantity, or did it just sort of your social self was intertwined with drink?
Yeah, but the way it was, I think it was my social self was intertwined with drink. I'd be looking if I wasn't drinking on a Friday, I'd be thinking about it or planning about it. You know what I was going to do on Friday, and drink was always part of that plan. So I wasn't able to drink a lot at the start, but constantly. So if you could between first year and leaving cert, I would have been an intelligent lad. But I failed my leaving cert because I wasn't able to continue going to school every day. I was taking days off in my own time, not anyone. My mother didn't even know, and we used to call it mitching. But and I'd be going in having a couple of pints on a day at that time, and I thought that was normal. That was the way it was for me.
Do you think those around you? I mean, obviously you were able to hide the mitching or the scheming or whatever people want to call it from your family, but do you think those around you knew that you had a problem with drink at that point, or were you masking it, or were people not noticing?
Yeah, well, in my case, my family, my mother was, God bless her, struggled with my father's drinking. Don't mind mine, and but it's sort of like my dad would have taken the most of the glare around drinking. And they wouldn't really have noticed the way I drank, really, as such, because what was normal for our family wasn't normal for others, So my dad drank daily as well. And I swore I'd never be like him, but that's not. I ended up being worse than him. But that's the way it was in the end, like.
And then heading into your adult life, I presume, you weren't able to maximise your talents in terms of sport. Obviously, your education took a hit. How did it develop then into your late teens and into your adulthood?
Yeah. So I did go back and repeat the leaving cert, and I did get a good leaving cert. After that, I didn't manage to get into. Well, it's called. I think it's not called GMIT anymore, but I got into. But I only lasted a year in it because I drank through that, and then I got into an accountant's office, and I spent there a couple of years. But again, I didn't, as you say. My whatever potential I had, like everything just went on drink. Every thought, every penny, everything. And each year it deteriorated. Each year, if I look back in it, it deteriorated into just drinking every day. And even though I held down a job until even I took my last drink, I was still working. But at that stage, I was a complete and utter wreck. I only had a pants, a pair of shoes, 2 t-shirts. Wow. I owed money all over the place. I didn't go onto the streets, but that was my next. I was so afraid of being a down and out and an alcoholic as I seen it, because an alcoholic as I seen it was the people that were walking the streets, drinking out of brown paper bags, drinking. And that's literally the step. I was one step away from that, really. That was it.
So to use modern language, would you have been described as a functioning alcoholic at that time, or maybe you were past that a bit?
I was barely functioning that guy, barely functioning, because there wasn't long left in that job for me.
Yeah, and in terms of your physical and mental health at that time, Pat, and maybe it's a blur and it's hard to maybe pick out how you were feeling, or maybe others have mentioned it to you, whichever the case might be. Like, how was this lifestyle affecting your physical and mental health, I wonder?
Yeah, well, you talked about sport. So physically, I'd given up sport at 22, 23. I was, so that was gone. I had nothing else to pass the time with. Mentally, I would have thought I was okay. I'm okay, but that was the disease of alcohol would tell me that I was okay. But, And I remember the last day I drank. I had planned the last day I drank, and I stopped drinking at 9 o'clock in the evening, walked out of the pub, got onto a bus, and was heading in to see a man that I knew was in Alcoholics Anonymous. And a young child came up to me who I had worked with her dad, but he had, God bless him, come to understand that drink was my God, really. And she came up to me and said, "Pat, you're talking out loud. And if you would ask me, I thought that everything was going on inside of my head was inside of my head, and it wasn't coming out through on my lips, but it was. And it was only like I was insane, really, was the best way I can put it. But I would have thought I was sober, or I would have, not sober, but I would have thought I was okay.
But you probably weren't sober at all, really, in real terms, from sometime in your teens up until that point. There must have come a time where you were just topping up, really, effectively.
Absolutely, I was a daily drinker. I drank daily. I drank to black out, to numb out, all, because you said about feelings. What did I feel? I didn't want to feel anything. Yeah. My disease didn't want me to feel anything, really, because that might have brought some sense into my life. And at that stage, my mother was in part of my life, my sisters, my brother. Any relationship I had with a woman always came second. Drink was my God at the time.
Yeah. Now, when you decided you were going to stop drinking, how long was the lead up to your last drink? How long had you been planning it? And maybe you've already referenced it there in that conversation with the girl. Was there a one thing that sort of changed that you said, right, I have to do something now? Because everyone's story is different, Pat, but just I wonder what the situation was with you.
Yeah, I would have known I had a problem with drink, and a lot of mornings I would have got up and said, "I'm not going to drink today. I'm not going to drink today. I won't drink today. I won't." And that's what I'd say. And then I won't drink till 1 o'clock, or I won't drink till 7 o'clock. All of that stuff, because I was just trying to control it. But I just didn't. I was powerless over it, and I didn't. So I tried to stop a good few times, but I couldn't stay stopped. I didn't understand. I just wasn't able to live without alcohol. So when I made a conscious decision, a friend of mine died. His name was John. God bless him. He died, and he wouldn't have drank like me. He was a diabetic, but he only had a couple of pints he probably drank daily, and but I didn't class him. He didn't drink as heavily as I did, but he was a beautiful man, and he died. And sometime when I was trying, because I didn't want to mourn him, and I was drinking to absolute drunkenness every day, drunk all the time. And sometime during that, I just got to think that this has to stop. Yeah. And sort of planned my last drink. I started at 11 o'clock in the day, and as I said, finished at 9. And I started in the centre of town and came out, and I'm living in Galway, and I came out to Salt Hill, and I had my last drink in a pub in Salt Hill. And, and then I went into that member of Alcoholics Anonymous, who also worked in a pub. And then I told him I had to stop, that I wasn't coming on anymore.
Okay, before we talk about what happens from then on in, I just want to talk maybe about friends and family, because obviously a lot of your relationships had broken down. If someone's around a problem drinker, or someone they seem to be an alcoholic, you can maybe try and, I presume, intervene on a number of occasions, okay? But that person has, they've made their own decision. It's what they want to do. What do you... So, and then, obviously, then people feel they have to get on with their own lives and they can't dedicate their lives to try and help somebody else. So what do you say to friends and family of someone who they believe to be an alcoholic or has a problem with drink, as to how to have an intervention or to speak to them, but not to do so in a way that if it goes wrong, the relationship is gone? Hello, Pat, can you hear me?
Yeah, there's someone trying to get through to me again, Greg. I heard all of that. I was trying to decline it properly this time.
Okay.
Yeah, the family, God bless them, yeah. My mother, my father even, who was a heavy drinker, tried to get me to stop. My aunts, my uncles, all of them people that worked in my grandmother's pub, they all loved me, but they just couldn't get through to me. And and eventually they did actually just give up on me. They didn't really have a choice, because it was like it destroyed the sort of relationship I had with them, and because they still loved me, but I didn't see that. They were just interfering with what I wanted, what my disease wanted me to do, which was really literally drink till I was dead, really. So, and if a man or a woman is an alcoholic, or any person is an alcoholic, there is really very little you can do, because at this stage I understand that it's a disease of the family, that if I drink, I affect other people around me, and the only really answer to them is to go to Al-Anon if they want to live a life and to be able to put responsibility back for my behaviour in that time. Let's put it on to me. And my mother did go to Al-Anon, so she did. So it started like to come to an understanding that, everyone that is with an alcoholic and loves an alcoholic, if they are affected by it, really needs to get support somewhere else. And that's what Al-Anon does, really.
And that is what's happening. Al-Anon is holding a Donegal convention this weekend in the Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny. We're speaking in that context, of course. And before we talk maybe briefly, and I won't keep you very much longer, about your experience with Al-Anon, do you feel angry or bitter or anything as it relates to, if you had your first drink at 10, maybe you didn't have a chance? Do you think on that, or do you have to park that, or do you have to deal with it, Pat? We can make decisions as a 19 and 20 and 21-year-old, but then there's the whole question of nature and nurture. Is that something you processed or think on?
Yeah, well, underlying causes and conditions would be part and parcel of being sober, of getting sober and staying sober. It's sort of like, just leaving down the drink doesn't mean that I'm capable of living day to day, really. There's a program for recovery. There is a solution, and sort of like, so, and the wreckage of the past is the wreckage of the past, and I have to leave it in the past if I can, but I'll always leave the door open to it, so that means that whoever or whatever is going to come up from the past, that I have to let it come and just say, everything is as it was in God's word, and it was supposed to be in God's word, and everything is as it's going to be in God's word, and everything is as it's supposed to be today in God's word. That's sort of like, and that's been the journey for me, is to allow God into my life and to allow a sort of spiritual program, not the God of fear that I was brought up with, but a loving, kind, compassionate, genuine.
But that's not an essential part of this process, though, is it, Pat? That's work for you, and that's part of you. But people presumably can seek that change or get that guidance from elsewhere if they're not religious, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. There's as many ways to cover alcoholics.
It would be mindfulness or whatever it might be. So, obviously, when you have drank for so long and you stop drinking, there's a couple of things going on here. Obviously, there's the addiction, there's the disease. There's the physical withdrawals as well, and dealing with the mental element of that. So presumably, it would be really tough to do this without the likes of the sport of Al-Anon that you had those 27 years ago, for everything else, for everything that goes on in terms of withdrawing yourself from alcohol, from drinking alcohol.
Well, I for me to withdraw from alcohol, I had to have Alcoholics Anonymous. For my family, from my mother, she had to have Al-Anon. So, it's sort of like, it's a two-way street, really. There's no defined way of recovery. I stayed sober for a long time without God in my life. I didn't take a drink. My mother dealt with me without Al-Anon in her life. But there's a certain insanity.
Yes, Pat, I think you you're popular this morning. Can you hear me, Pat?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Just I want to make sure we get the date and time out. And I think you've given us a real insight. It's a convention, isn't it? It runs over the weekend, October 14th, 15th, 16th at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. There is a solution, a design for living is the tagline. So, who goes to this? Do you go to it if you're still drinking? Do you get where I'm coming from, Pat? How do people self-identify whether this is for them?
Yeah, well, it's running over the weekend. There's an early bird meeting on Thursday at 8:30. There's an open meeting on Friday night for everyone. Anyone that's been affected by alcohol, or a friend or a person that's actually drinking. And over the weekend there's closed meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, marathon meetings they're called, and on Sunday there's another open meeting. And Al-Anon is there on Saturday for anyone as well that is, as you said, it's affected by it. So it's an amazing opportunity for people that have drink and stuff that have an opportunity to try and get sober or live with another person that is alcoholic.
All right, now you can ring the AA 01 842 0700 and more details of this event in Donegal this weekend at alcoholicsanonymous.ie. Pat, thanks for being so open and honest, and I think it's through stories like yours that others might get inspiration, and maybe now is the time for them to change. If me and you got one person to this meeting, I think it was a well worthwhile 10 or 20 minutes, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed.
All right,
God
take
bless
care of yourself, Pat. All right.
Here.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, okay. We'll take a piece of music, will we? We're going to play this next song off the back of a conversation we had. Leona's parents at the weekend. Leona's being laid to rest later today. It's the most difficult day, and days to come as well. And there was a song that was of significance to Leona and her mum, Donna, and we're playing this for them today.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Farmland re-wetting blasted as land grab. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal how the EU plans to re-wet over 200,000 hectares of Irish farmland. Fertiliser importers seek scheme to protect margins. New government funding for solar farms. Big changes on the way for dairy beef welfare scheme. New 3% land tax to hit farm incomes. And we speak to Minister for Justice Helen McEntee on rural crime, parenting and domestic violence.
Inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, you cannot afford to miss it.
There's only one thing as good as a TUI holiday, and that's looking forward to one. So get next summer sorted and secure your TUI holiday today. Choose beach lakes and cruise breaks across a wide range of destinations, including Mexico, direct from Dublin. Plus all your favourites like holiday villages, Splash World resorts and our own TUI Blue hotels. Secure now with low booking deposits and thousands of free child places. That's next summer's holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy. T's and C's apply.
4 doors. 4 belts. That was only 3 clicks. Where's the last click? Someone isn't wearing their seatbelt. It's Matt. I need to ask him to put it on. But what if he thinks I'm a wuss? What if he laughs at me? What if the others take off their belts in solidarity? What if I don't ask him?
However bad you think asking will be, it's nothing compared to what could happen if you don't.
Here, would you mind wearing your seatbelt?
No problem, man. Asking your mates to wear a seatbelt won't kill you. Every time, every trip, everybody. Belt up. A message from the Road Safety Authority.
Businesses, for your 2023 calendar, order now from BizPrint and Letterkenny. Promote your business 365 days of the year with a personalised calendar designed to suit from BizPrint the Printers, Port Road, Letterkenny. See bizprint.ie.
This week at Home Store and More, all cutlery is all half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price cutlery is gone, it's gone. And all living room throws and all Halloween are all still half price. But when all the half price living room throws and all the half price Halloween are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Okay, there's a new book out right now from Donegal author Aoife Gallagher. It's called Web of Lies, The Lure and Danger of Conspiracy Theories. Aoife joins us on the programme now. Hi, Aoife.
Morning, Greg.
I suppose before you even started writing this book, you had to make a decision, didn't you? Because in doing so, you are going to become a lightning rod for those who disagree with governments, those who disagree with medical advice, those who maybe their thoughts are aligned with a bigger theory, you know, and they are active and they're, you know, I mean, it was you had to consider what you were taking on here, I presume.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, Greg, I've been kind of doing this kind of work for, you know, over 5 years at this stage, I suppose. So I'm kind of more than aware of the pushback that I get, I suppose, from doing it. And I know that the book is definitely, you know, it's the biggest piece of work I've ever produced. And it's the first piece of work really to kind of look at how these movements are really kind of forming in Ireland and the way that they're tied to international movements. So yeah, of course, I mean, I was aware of the fact that, you know, I was going to get a lot of abuse for it, but it's an unfortunate part of the job, but you just kind of have to take it, unfortunately, you know.
What attracts us to what are labelled conspiracy theories? Because we have people of all different backgrounds, different races, different nationalities, different income levels. You know, you can't pigeonhole a group of people that necessarily, well, you might say you might be more likely to, but you can't necessarily say it's only one group of people. So what do you think draws us to conspiracy theories?
Yeah, I find this really interesting because I talked to a couple of psychologists who study conspiratorial belief for a living. And what they said, and like, you're dead right, I think there's this kind of notion sometimes that people who believe in conspiracy theories are all stupid and uneducated, and, you know, there's loads of kind of pejorative terms that are used to describe people who believe in conspiracy theories. But the truth is that we're all quite susceptible to it, and our brains are kind of built for conspiracy theorizing in a lot of ways. And when I talked to psychologists about this, they said that there are psychological needs in our life, and when those needs are not being met, people are more they will embrace they tend to embrace conspiracy theories instead. And those psychological needs are the need to feel safe and secure in the world that we live in, the need to know what's going on, the need for knowledge and kind of know how the world works, and the need to feel good in your social situations, right? So when these needs are not being met, people may be more inclined to embrace conspiracy theories. Now, what the psychologist told me was that it's not that these needs are being fulfilled by conspiracy theories. They actually make people feel worse. So they make people feel less safe. They make people feel that they don't have any clue what's going on in the world. Now, with the kind of feeling good in your social circles, they feel that they empower people. And I even remember getting into 9/11 conspiracy theories back in the day when they were all the rage in the early 2000s. And I remember watching them and thinking, well, I know what happened now. And when you have that kind of secret knowledge, it is very empowering. So I think that there's, it definitely plays into, I suppose, the need to know what goes on in the world, and conspiracy theories can kind of give these neat packages, I suppose, to people.
The thing is, what I struggle with is that, this, say, for instance, some of the theories that you would focus on in this book, right, that people believe in, to some extent, then the non-conspiracy theories, like the stuff we believe in, right, for example, is imperfect as well. Like, say, for instance, the fact that there's a bigger story to, say, for instance, what's happening in Ukraine. Okay, maybe now's not the time to have that conversation, not me and you, but as a society. But there's stuff going on there. Okay, say, for instance, to the West's outright condemnation of what's going on there. But let's not talk about Israel. Do you know that? So and this is happening in the mainstream, if you know what I'm on about. So obviously, there's different weight to the different stuff, but you can understand how we're actually all just splitting up even further, because those who are not what you might class as far right or conspiracy theorists, they're not living exactly in an ideal world where everything is simple. We are believing. And that's the generic a particular narrative with a lot of contradictions within it.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. There are so many contradictions in the world, and the world is so chaotic and so hard to control. And the thing about conspiracy theories is that what they kind of draw people in based on very real grievances that people have. And I think there needs to be an acknowledgement of those grievances. Do you know what I mean? So, you shouldn't believe everything that the media tells you, because the media doesn't always get things right. And the media doesn't, they spin things, and there's sensationalism and bias in media, right? So that is true. But what conspiracy theories do is they kind of take this to a real cynical extreme. So instead of saying that you should, try and kind of discern what's true and what's false in the media yourself, they'll tell you that the media is flat out lying to you. And the same with, say, politicians. Instead of, some politicians, just not working in the interests of their citizens, within conspiracy theory movements, politicians are actively always working against their people.
Say, for instance, and I gave the example this week, I don't know if he did so knowingly or not, but the leader of this country, Micheál Martin, stood up in the Dáil and suggested that, effectively, that RTÉ and Sinn Féin were in cahoots to keep Mary Lou McDonald's book review. We're not getting into that, but you know what I mean, off the airways right now. Both parties come out and said that that's simply not the case, and yet those comments are still on the record. So where you know what I mean. So people who might have a dissatisfaction with government or might feel angry might go, well, sure, there's a perfect example. Who's telling the truth here?
Exactly. Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. And I think that kind of what I wanted to get across in the book is that, is as I say, acknowledging those things, acknowledging the contradictions and things like that. But the danger really lies, and what I kind of discuss in the book, is when these beliefs are taken to an extreme.
Yeah,
and when
it's extreme nature of it. Yeah, I understand.
Exactly. Yeah,
and I think one of the great defenses too of people with different views is the do your research side of things, and don't question. I would hope I question everything, but I do know some people that don't question stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, say, for instance, the issue, there's a lot of people at the moment campaigning for to protect a cashless society, right? And they're seeking donations, but the donations are through digital means. They're through PayPal, or they're through this, that, and the other. Do you know what I mean? So if I was questioning everything, I would say, well, if you're campaigning against a cashless society, for example, because you believe there's a reason for this, you don't take postal orders, you don't take cash by post. Why do I have to have a bank account and make a digital transaction for you? So if you're going to question everything and do your research, I think that applies to all of us. That applies right across the board.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the internet has kind of, the internet is a double-edged sword, you know what I mean? Because it's given us all this information at our fingertips. It's unbelievable how much information we have at our fingertips. But the thing is that, and I'm kind of talking mainly about social media here, the way that social media is structured and the kind of business model of social media means that outrage and things that are, I suppose the social media is biased in favor of false information, because that is what normally gets the more engagement, things that are outrageous and things that are polarizing. And again, this is the kind of issue I discuss in the book, is the fact that, the algorithms that feed us this content, have a tendency to pull people down what I would call rabbit holes. Do you know what I mean? So there's a good investigation actually that The Guardian did that I mentioned in the book, and they looked at people joining anti-lockdown groups on Facebook during the pandemic, which I think was, a thing. People were joining anti-lockdown groups. The lockdowns were awful. People had loads of reasons to do that. But what they found was that Facebook was feeding them back recommendations to join QAnon groups. And QAnon is a wild conspiracy theory movement.
So once you've dipped the toe in the water,
exactly.
The algorithms were saying, well, this person might want to jump all the way in.
Exactly.
And what we do, before you continue, point to social media, and I want to hear what you have to say beyond that, is that as much as you try and resist, and because of the language and the accusations can be so strong, you do end up surrounded by people with similar views to you. That's the way social media works, and that feeds into it. So, sorry, you were going to go on to say there, Aoife.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and kind of going back to the point about, the thing with conspiracy theories is that they'll give people this idea that the media and kind of institutions are always lying to you. So that really feeds into the idea of doing your own research. And the internet is so good at kind of giving people, again, kind of empowering people with the idea that they could research really, really complicated topics on their own. And, we saw this with the pandemic and people looking into, really complicated subjects related to kind of science and healthcare, and watching YouTube videos and kind of looking through, scientific papers and kind of, thinking that they found something that, the entire establishment had missed. Do you know what I mean? And I think that, as I say, it is very empowering for people, but it's also, as we've seen, quite dangerous, I think, and quite dangerous at leading
also
people to...
The one big plot hole in all of this was that for a lot of these conspiracies, President Putin, or Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, whoever is in charge of Bad Korea at the moment, China, America, Germany, all would have to have been in cahoots. They all would have had to have been part of this for it to, for much of some of the stuff to have been true. And yet we can see the state of the world at the moment. So
I always say that the best way to debunk conspiracy theories in this country, the idea that the Irish government was in cahoots in this really intricate plan, I mean, to be honest, they're so incompetent that I just, do you know what I mean? It should be easy to almost debunk that when you look at how incompetent they are. But you're dead right. It involves this, this level of cooperation between countries and industries that it's just simply impossible, really.
Yeah. So then who is the... I kind of flip-flopped around the wider issue, but I want you to talk about your book and the journey you take us on, because this is, people will specifically be buying this. They're not. We're talking about the general situation. So talk to us about what journey you take people on in the book.
Yeah, so I essentially opened the book with actually my own story of falling down the 9/11 rabbit hole back in the early 2000s, and then I wanted to really, from the very beginning of the book, go into the essentially cement the idea in people's heads that we're all susceptible to conspiracy theories. So kind of what I touched on, just earlier about talking about the psychological needs that are lacking in people that will make them embrace this. And then I go back really through time. I kind of take a very, very swift journey through about 250 years of history to kind of show people how a lot of these conspiracy theories have been around for centuries, and they essentially get given a new coat of paint every couple of decades or every couple of centuries. And a lot of that chapter is actually focused on anti-Semitism and how a lot of these kind of overarching conspiracy theories about a small group of people really being in control of the world is actually very, very much rooted in really old anti-Semitism. And then I kind of go into the internet age, I suppose, and kind of discuss the way that different online subcultures have all come together to kind of form what is known as the alt-right, which is essentially kind of an online version of the far right, and how that has then fed into movements like QAnon, which has just become this vast international movement that kind of has Trump as the savior, who's meant to be fighting this kind of secret war.
But all the information is coming from someone who is completely anonymous and started their life on, of all places, 4chan.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I actually was involved. I'll pitch a podcast I was involved in last year as well called Finding Q, and you'll find it on Audible. So anyone who wants to know like really a detail, I suppose, about what QAnon is and who is behind it should take a look at that. And then I also go into science denial, which I think is one that really interests me. When I first went to college, I did a degree in environmental biology. So I kind of have, a love for science and a love for science being done well, I suppose. And I just find it very interesting the way that science can be used in order to pull people into false belief systems. And there's certain, tactics and strategies, I suppose, that are used in science denial. So I kind of just outline them and kind of try and make people see that, science should not, people kind of demand perfection from science. And if you talk to anyone who's involved in science, they'll never say that science is perfect.
Do you think that this then will speak to, and apologies, the news is just going to be a couple of minutes late. Do you think this then speaks to everyone? In other words, do you really expect people who would subscribe to what's termed conspiracy theories, do you think that they might consider how they're thinking, or really are you just going to talk to the majority of people who don't subscribe to conspiracy theories, and really it's just a written version of what we're seeing online? Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote the book with the hope that maybe people who believe in this stuff will pick it up and read it and may kind of come to a realization of why they believe in it. Now that might be, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I do hope that it will, but I do think for the most part I kind of wrote it for people who are really interested in as to why people are pulled into this stuff, to help them really understand it. I've talked to so many people who have friends and family members that they kind of just don't talk to anymore because they've fallen into this stuff. So I've definitely wrote it for people like that, and also just to kind of in some ways inoculate people against these movements, because to be honest, I believe that all this is going to get worse before it gets better. I don't think that we're near the end of this at all. So I'd like to kind of give people, I suppose, empower people with the knowledge that when they see something online, they can go, yeah, that's nonsense. I know that's nonsense.
When something can be monetarized and weaponized, it will keep going. And it's tough because, as you say, there's friendships that have been broken down amongst family, amongst friends. People have very, very different views, and it seems to me, I try and switch off from everything, to be honest, and just plough my own path. It seems to be all consuming and really, really tiresome. In other words, everything, there's a problem. And you could say that with mainstream politics and some of these theories. I think we just need to maybe take a step back from all of it and truly, truly think for ourselves. I don't know. Aoife, listen, as I say, what's the been reaction to this book?
The reaction so far has been pretty positive. Now I have to say, I mean, I have gotten, the abuse that we talked about at the start, but that's to be expected, to be honest. I don't, I've a lot of people in this country and beyond that don't like me or the work that I do, but I feel like it is extremely important, and I'm not really going to stop just because a few people don't like it. So, but for the most part, the reaction has been very positive.
All right, Aoife, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks so much, Greg.
Take care of yourself. Okay, that's Aoife Gallagher. If you're interested in the book, it's called Web of Lies, The Lure and Danger of Conspiracy Theories. But I think a lot of those things, I think you could probably write a similar book about what seems sort of mainstream government and media and come up with a lot of findings too. But look, as I say, people can make up their own minds and do their own thing. Right, okay. It is 3 minutes past 11. My apologies to all of you waiting on the news and the person who's about to deliver it. Good morning to you, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. People are gathering at St Michael's Church in Creeslaw as the funeral mass of 49-year-old Martina Martin gets underway. She was working in Lafferty's filling station on Friday when an explosion which claimed the lives of 10 people took place. 14-year-old Leona Harper, who was in the shop buying ice cream that afternoon, will be buried later today following funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Ramelton. Meanwhile, people in Creeslaw and the surrounding areas are being urged to prioritise their mental health in the aftermath of the tragedy. Free counselling services are being made available from specialist support teams. A dedicated helpline to provide direct access to professional support and advice has also been set up. Anyone seeking help can call 087 140 5138. A teenager has been hospitalised after being assaulted in Letterkenny earlier this week. The male teenager was attacked on Tuesday at around 5 p.m. on the Ramelton Road. He required hospital treatment to his injuries. Gardaí say no arrests have been made, but investigations are ongoing. The Taoiseach has said the government is finding it very challenging to find accommodation for Ukrainian refugees. It comes after a government U-turn allowed a number of refugees to remain in Killarney instead of being uprooted to Westport. Around 55,000 people have sought international protection in Ireland this year, compared with 7,500 last year. The Finance Minister is considering all submissions made following the announcement of a defective blocks levy in last month's budget. During exchanges in the Dáil, Sinn Féin's Matt Carthy told Minister Michael McGrath that there have been rumours about what may or may not happen with the levy and that they need to be addressed. Police in Derry are investigating a report of criminal damage caused to a property in Nicholson Square. A number of men are alleged to have entered the house at around 6:15 p.m. yesterday and had thrown paint around the living room. And Gardaí have announced a number of appointments and allocations of chief superintendents and superintendents across the country. Locally, there has been one change. Inspector Sean Grant from Buncrana Garda Station has been promoted to superintendent to be based at Cavan Garda Station. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much, Michaela. It is truly hard to believe, isn't it, that communities are gathering again today for such was the loss of life from last Friday. It's another day of funerals. It really is. It's just really hard to fathom. And the funeral's getting underway. Of Martina Tina to her friends, Martin Nay Russell of Bluebell Cottage, Duntally, Creesla, and formerly of Roe Park in Letterkenny. We heard that worked in Letterkenny as well. The funeral mass is taking place currently at, or just about to get underway at St. Michael's Church, Creesla, followed by cremation in Lakelands Crematorium at 5 p.m. If you wish to watch that service, by the way, we have a link on our website so you can click through and watch it on MCM Media, or just Google MCN Media directly. Family flowers only, donations if desired, by the way, to the Creesla Community Support Fund, which stands at over $1 million already. And we're just going to take a pause for reflection, I suppose, and just to let Tina's family and friends know that we're thinking on them as well at this time.
broadcasting throughout the Northwest and across the world online. This is Highland Radio.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Nutria's Winter Beef Feed offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutria's Super Beef Gold ATP or Nutria's Max Maize Mix, get one free. The Nutria's Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrias.ie for full product details.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Get ready for spooky season at Century Complex. This Halloween, we have a great selection of movies at Century Cinemas, delicious food and cocktails in backstage, and Century Plays Halloween Fun Day takes place on the 31st of October from 12 to 2 p.m. Get in touch on 074 9121976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Milford Retail Park now open. Large range of wall and floor tiles on display and in stock. Over 70 different laminate floors to suit every pocket. Tilers and wood fitters available. New bathware showroom now open. Milford Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. 083 091 0707.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, so let's look at the weather forecast then. Patchy outbreaks of rain will extend across the region today, though there will be decent dry intervals as well. Mostly cloudy with occasional bright spells, highest temperatures of 13 or 14 degrees. Right, we do have one more quick break to catch up on, and then we'll be joined hopefully by consultant endocrinologist Dr. Mary Ryan. World Menopause Day, of course, is coming on Tuesday, the 18th of October. That's coming up for you shortly.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Do you need to switch your current account or loan? We are now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features and competitive rate switcher loans.
This week at Home Store and More, all cutlery is all half price. That's right, half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price cutlery is gone, it's gone. And all living room throws and all Halloween are all still half price. But when all the half price living room throws and all the half price Halloween are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
From golfing getaways to gourmet homestays, we all have different ideas on what we'd love to do when we retire. But one thing we can all agree on is that we'd love to pay less tax. At Bank of Ireland, we're all about your financial well-being. A pension is a great way to make your retirement lifestyle achievable while also reducing your tax bill. Now's the time to fund your future. Book a phone or virtual meeting today at bankofireland.com/pensions. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Revenue limits, terms and conditions apply. Bank of Ireland is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc, trading as Bank of Ireland Life for life assurance and pensions business. Members of Bank of Ireland Group. Bank of Ireland trading as Bank of Ireland Insurance and Investments is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you support the dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're going to have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Do you get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Make big savings in the final clearance sale at Watson Menswear Letterkenny. Like top label polo shirts, jackets and fleeces, just $24.95. Or get 2 for €40. Casual shirts and knitwear for $29.95. Or 2 for €50. A selection of Super Dry, now half price. There's also 25% off selected suits and many more great savings in every department. In the final clearance sale at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. And I hope now we're joined on the programme by Dr. Mary Ryan, consultant endocrinologist. Good morning to you, Doctor. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Alan. And if the reception is poor, as I said, we'll go straight on. Okay?
Yeah, I know I'm picking you up fine. It's settled down there now, but we'll switch to the phone.
Seems to be.
Yep.
Okay.
No, it's perfectly fine. Are we in a different space now in talking about menopause, Dr. Ryan, than we might have been a number of years ago? Actually, do you know what? We will switch to the telephone line if that's okay, because it's an important issue on one of stable connection. So we'll get Dr. Ryan on the telephone if that's okay. Caller says it can be monetized and weaponized. That's the purpose of her book. Yeah, indeed. Everything can. I am not going to get involved in a mudslinging thing. Everyone's entitled to their views and to speak to whoever they wish to speak to and believe whatever they wish to believe. I am not going to get involved in that. I understand where people may be coming from. Maybe you can help this listener. Did anyone else not get their social welfare payment this morning? I'm with the Ulster Bank and moved to the AIB, but didn't make the social welfare change yet, as everything is not transferred over yet. But this morning now I have no social welfare payment. I'm wondering, is it a social welfare issue or a bank issue? So I don't know when the cutoff for social welfare going into the Ulster Bank was. I don't know when that was, so I'm not sure what the issue is here. But if you have not yet given your new AIB details, it sounds to me like maybe the government, have they stopped transferring money into Ulster Bank accounts? Right, sorry about that, Dr. Ryan. We'll revert to the good old...
You're so welcome.
Right, no,
absolutely.
My leading question was to be: are we in a different space? I'm thinking of the likes of Davina McCall's shows in Britain and other shows elsewhere, special documentaries. Are we, considering it affects at least 50% of the population, are we in a better place in talking about menopause now than we would have been a number of years ago? I wonder.
Oh, absolutely, sure. You'd swear, Alan, that it was a new phenomenon, and an extra fact. Menopause has been around since the time of Adam and Eve, so it just shows you the lack of education of women, the lack of emphasis on women's health. And yes, we're in an amazing place, but we need to be there, and probably should have been there generations ago, because women have suffered over those generations because of the lack of knowledge, the lack of expertise, the lack of research into all of this area. But at least we're there now. But let's move on and keep it going. And as you said, we are 50% of the population. We need to be treated equally. And, if you have a healthier woman and a healthier man, then it's a healthier society. And, menopause does affect all women, if they're living to 50, will go through menopause. So it's very, very important that they're supported, that they know the symptoms, and that they know that what treatment is out there, and also how best to look after their overall health, because there are major changes in other areas that I'll tell you about as well. So it's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic to have this emphasis. But I've a huge hats off to Lorraine Keane. I went lecturing all around Ireland, and Lorraine Keane was the celebrity to put her hand up and said, I will MC it and I'll go all around the country with you. And really, there was 80, 100 people coming along to those venues, and we were teaching them all about hormonal health and about perimenopause and menopause. And really great credit to her, because it wasn't the sexy thing to do back then. She was a very glamorous lady, but it packed the halls. And I think that's what started the initiative. And then, of course, thankfully, Joe Duffy rang me last year and said, will you come on? And we all know that he gave 3 weeks talking menopause. And then the whole country wanted to know about it. So that's really the springboard, I think, that started all this, but not without time. And it's wonderful, Alan,
just
because,
in relation
as I said,
to that, Mary, do you think maybe the fact that medicine and politics may be dominated by males, maybe, or conservatism, that in a lot of houses, and even still to this day, but particularly in the past, the word period was almost seen as a swear word. Menopause certainly would not have been discussed. Do you think all of that held progress back?
Totally. A woman, I mean, if you go back to, and my own mother was a De Valera fan, huge, but, De Valera didn't do a lot for women. Women weren't allowed to work. It was, women tell me all the time of how they would have gone along with very heavy periods and they would have been just dismissed. I mean, I hear this from 80-year-old women all of the time. So back then there was no emphasis on women's health. There was no, women were very much the second-class citizens in society, and it isn't still. And we have to thank, the wonderful women, Marion Finucane and her gang, that really started the whole empowerment of women. And they got it at the time for doing so, but they really started talking about women's rights and what women are entitled to. And I think with all that education, with more women in medicine, with women becoming empowered, and I'm doing an empowerment conference this on the 11th of November for that very reason, the University Concert Hall in Limerick, because we need to educate women. So with all that, we're now getting to the stage where women are looking after women, and the government are being forced to listen, and also the HSE are being forced to listen. So it's fantastic. Yeah. And we're now at a stage where people, as you said, were afraid to talk about periods before. The women hid their sanitary towels under their loaf of bread. I've heard those stories. People didn't even know what a normal period was. Now we're getting to educate women to tell them it's a 4-day max, 3 to 4 days, not 7 days. We're now telling them about perimenopause. What is perimenopause? It's when the eggs become depleted in the ovaries and the FSH hormone goes up in the hormone control centre. That then, because remember, hormones control everything, Alan. So they control all your muscles, they control all your immune system. We all have a hormone control centre called the pituitary gland on top of the nose. So puberty starts at 12. That's when those hormones start, and you should be getting a cycle every 28 days, and the period should last 3 to 4 days, no longer, not 7 days, which women didn't know, they were never taught. So therefore, generations of women had 7-day periods, shouldn't have had. But now, thankfully, we're getting the message across, and we're telling them, no, you need to go and get that sorted. Yeah. Perimenopause then is when the eggs become depleted, that FSH hormone goes up in the hormone control centre. So then there's a knock-on effect on every muscle in the body, and that's why women get their aches and pains, their bloating, because hormones control the bowel as well. They get that lack of sleep because your muscles aren't going into deep relaxation. And with the lower estrogen, they can get sweating and flushing. A lot of women are very fatigued at this time as well. And again, this is something women need to know, because
they all have young
children.
Why does that have to happen? What biologically is making that happen? Why have we not evolved to that just at a certain time one stops producing eggs? Why does there have to be such a seismic change for women? I mean, it doesn't.
Well, if I could, Alan, a lovely question.
Nature's good, but why hasn't it fixed this problem?
I know. Listen, if I could redesign it for women, wouldn't it be lovely? Yeah. We shouldn't have periods till we're 25, and wouldn't it be much better? Because it's so difficult for women, because they're trying to deal with
what I'm trying to get at, Dr. Ryan, and sorry, I'll get to questions and stuff. Like, say for instance, 200 years ago, when life expectancy was much lower. Birth mortality would have been more common and what have you. I'm just wondering, did menopause start earlier? Would many of women have died before menopause had began? Is this because we're living longer? That's kind of really...
Oh, I get you. Okay. Well, no, there's both. A lot of women, unfortunately, died at childbirth, and again, through lack of women being looked after, really, and lack of proper maternity care, unfortunately. Huge amount of women died of childbirth, and I see women coming in all the time telling me their mother died in childbirth. So that's one thing. But no, a lot of women did live through menopause, because Lorraine and myself heard the stories. I've heard the stories. It's just they didn't know what it was. They were never told. It wasn't passed down through the generations. It wasn't spoken about. So no, it's not a new thing. And I don't think it's because we're living longer. Yes, we're living probably 20 years longer than the previous generation. But no, menopause happens between perimenopause 45. So from 50 onwards, women are going to suffer menopause. And no, women would have been living in the previous generation till their late 70s, 80s, and probably now going to live into their 90s. So no.
Thankfully, yep.
No,
so
I don't think it's a new phenomenon. Yeah.
No, I know it's not new. I was just... Anyway, I didn't phrase the question very well, but it was a useful answer. In terms of perimenopause, then, how common is that? What should people be looking out for?
So it happens every woman that's going to live, at 40. So usually it's 45, Ellen. Sometimes it comes at 40 and earlier, but usually it's 45.
But in terms of perimenopause is what I'm asking about, Mary.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
perimenopause.
right, okay.
Perimenopause is when the eggs become depleted, when the periods become either longer or they might just become a little heavier, and that's when you get the aches and pains that I was telling you about, the headaches, the tiredness. So that's the lead into menopause, where the hormones have become depleted, the FSH hormone is going up in the hormone growth center, and you're getting those knock-on effects I spoke about, which is the aches and pains, bloating, lack of sleep, tiredness, brain fog. And then when you go into menopause, which is at 50, eggs are totally depleted. That's when the periods stop. And that's when then you get maybe worsening of those symptoms. Now, I want to point out, you get, 9% of women that get no symptoms at all. But they're the few. 60% do get symptoms. And then of the other 30%, or 29%, they're very severe. But 60 get symptoms that they get on with, and then 30 would be very severe. So for that 60%, and for all women, I always say lifestyle change is key. You have to be eating healthily. You can't be drinking too much coffee because caffeine will drive the flushing. You've got to get your 8 hours sleep as much as you can, because otherwise the hormone will get tired. And you've got to have a good, healthy diet. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, then you can, of course, take supplements. So Menamin is a very good supplement for menopause. It's got the vitamin B6, B12, and it is very good for nervous energy. Omega-3 is very important for heart, because remember, heart disease becomes more common, Alan, after menopause, because you're losing the estrogen protective effect. It's got vitamin D, which is critical for bone, because again, after menopause, estrogen levels are down, and therefore bone becomes demineralized. So you need to be taking your vitamin D and make sure you have adequate calcium intake in your diet. And then biotin is very good for the hair, because the hair does get thinner, again, because of the hormonal imbalance. And then you have the natural isoflavones and phytoestrogens. So that's just a snapshot. Magnesium is very good to take as well.
Mary.
It's nice. It does help with the restless legs that a lot of women get.
Yeah, and pardon my ignorance, Mary. I really, but I kind of misused the word perimenopause in referring to women who begin menopause early.
Okay.
We had some questions on that, from people sort of late 20s, early 30s. And I should have referred to it as early menopause, of course, but it's the early start of perimenopause. So I'm sorry for the way I structured that question. So if someone, for the listeners in their late 20s, early 30s, who think it could be that, so for that group, what would be early indicators?
So early indicators would be of, if you were getting an early menopause, would be if you notice that you're extraordinarily tired, if you notice that your periods were there was a change in the periods, they were getting heavier, they're getting longer. That would be, if you notice that you are flushing, for example, they would be early indicators. But if you could present with that as well, if you're just overtired, if you're just exhausted, as most women are at that age where they've got young kids, and women tend to overdo it. And I suppose this is why I'm always trying to get the message out to empower women, have their self-worth, to pull back, to let their partner help out. A lot of women don't. They keep doing it. They think it's this intergenerational thing. They think that only them can do it, and they don't ask for help. They have a low self-worth. So it's up to women to sort of say, look, darling, I need you to do this because I have to get my yoga in tonight, because otherwise they're not getting a break. It's really important that women look after themselves and allow their partners to help them. And now, thankfully, that is happening in society. So it could be just exhaustion. But yes, if you're worried at all, do go in, get your hormones checked, because it's so important. If it was early menopause in your 30s or late 20s, that would be picked up, because you would need HRT straight away, because otherwise you have serious effect on your bone health and your heart health if you didn't, because that's not physiological. You should not be getting perimenopause, which is the 5 years before menopause. You shouldn't be getting that till 45. Yeah. So some women, as you said, do. We think it's because of it can be genetic. It can also be the immune system attacking the ovaries. Again, this can be down to being overtired. So that's why women do need to pace at all times and have a healthy lifestyle as much as possible.
A caller wants to know, she'll be going through a hysterectomy procedure shortly and wants to know if she will go into full menopause afterwards. Are there treatments or self-care for the after procedure that she should consider?
Yeah, so basically, if they take her ovaries, she will be going into full hysterectomy. If they're not taking her ovaries, then she won't. So tell her to make sure to ask about that. So if they are taking the ovaries, then she needs HRT and she needs the prescription before she leaves the hospital. Unfortunately, I see too many women coming in after hysterectomy and the oophorectomy, where they've taken the ovaries out, and they're gone into what we call a surgical menopause, which is a horrendous instant menopause. It's not physiological, which means it comes on gradually, and the body is, is good at trying to cope with it. It's absolutely sudden, and women, that's just horrendous, because they get the sudden crash of estrogen, desperate flushing, sweating, desperate fatigue. It shouldn't happen. So she needs a prescription for HRT if the ovaries are being taken out. Make sure she discusses that with the consultant who's doing it, and make sure she says, preserve my ovaries if at all possible. That would be the best thing to do. But if not, she will need the HRT if they're taken out.
Yeah, now there's been different opinions on HRT over time, and still some would seem within the medical community. A caller wants to ask you, on menopause. My mother passed away with breast cancer. I was told by she was told by her GP that I can't get hormone replacement therapy as it increases my risk of getting breast cancer.
So it all depends on whether the mother had estrogen receptor positive breast cancer or not. If the mother had estrogen receptor breast cancer, then she shouldn't take HRT. But if her mother had breast cancer where it wasn't estrogen receptor responsive, then she could. So it all depends. She needs to talk to her mother's oncologist and find out, was it estrogen receptor positive? The evidence-based medicine tells us that we shouldn't give it HRT to first-degree relatives, which is your mother, your sisters, if they had estrogen receptor positive breast cancer. Okay, there's loads of other remedies though, and tell her not to be suffering. Like, there's loads of supplements that one can take. I've mentioned them out. There's also stuff for restless legs, which is a huge problem in menopause, and that will help with the peripheral nerve pain, the headaches, aches and pains, and the lack of sleep. So there's loads of other options. If she cannot take HRT, so don't feel as if you're on your own. You're not. There's loads of other options, and the biggest thing is that you have a healthy lifestyle, and that you pace and that you pull back from all the running that you're doing. That's the big thing women have to learn to do, to listen to their bodies and think more like a man. Men are brilliant at listening to their bodies when they're tired. They sit. Women don't, and we need to stop that, because that hormone control centre cannot cope, particularly around a time of where there's a whole hormone flux as is going on in menopause in it. It can cope if they're overdoing it. So I've got to, plug in and allow the hormone control centre to do its best to deal with the whole hormone imbalance that's going on.
I suspect much of that answer might fit this question too. Having had hormone-related breast cancer and being put into an early menopause, is there any HRT available to help? Doctors won't prescribe anything because of the type of cancer.
Yes, again, it all depends if it's estrogen positive. If it is, she can have it. If it isn't, then she can. But as I said, there are loads of other, and I always start with healthy living, healthy lifestyle. There's no point, I have women coming in that are on HRT, but if they don't do all the other stuff as well, if they don't pace, have a healthy lifestyle, reduce the caffeine, then the hormone control centre won't deal with it, and they won't do as well on HRT as they should. So the point is that it's a holistic approach, as I always say to women. They have to do the whole lot. They have to have the 3 good healthy meals, their 8 hours sleep at night. They've got to rest when their body is telling them to rest, and they've got to, if they can't take HRT, there's loads of other medications available, and there's some fantastic supplements out there as well.
How long,
as I've spoken about.
I beg your pardon, Doctor. How long should you expect the hot sweats and sleeplessness to last? I'm 4 years in, and there's still no signs of symptoms disappearing.
Yeah, so they can last for 5 years, and usually 3 to 5 years would be the norm. But unfortunately, in some women, they do go on for 10 and 15 years. Wow. Yeah, they do. Now, if she can have HRT, then I would. If the sweats and flushing are severe, I would go on HRT, so long as it's sort of safe for her to do so. I would certainly. Okay. We're tending to go away from the tablet form and go on the gels and the transdermal, which is the patch. We're tending to go away from the tablets now. That's the trend that's happening from a safety point of view.
All right.
Yeah, because you're less product going through the liver, so it's
your body absorbs it in a different way. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Since menopause, I've noticed I'm just not fit anymore, despite my good eating and my exercise. Should I then be taking supplements?
So fitness has got to do with, is her weight right? Is she aerobically fit? Is she doing 30 minutes of exercise every day? And, so that's the big thing. And obviously make sure her blood pressure is right and get know your numbers, make sure her cholesterol is normal. So just to get her doctor to do that for and check out, get up her aerobic fitness, so long as there's nothing to contraindicate that, and get her weight right. So that's key, right? And then after that, the fitness will come once there's no medical problem.
Yeah.
The fitness
Do
will
we have
come.
to be careful
But
too,
certainly
Mary?
around-
That's an interesting point you make. Do we have to be careful not to attribute everything how we feel to menopause? In other words, maybe not take our eye off the ball of it being perhaps something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, if, for example, we've spoken about the symptoms, the aches and pains, the exhaustion, the sweating and the flushing. But yes, I mean, most patients will be going to their doctor, who will give them a good medical exam. And obviously they'll be checking that there's nothing else going on. But I suppose I just want women to know menopausal symptoms so they can make that, that they will be informed. So if they have terrible sweating and flushing, they know what it is. If they're exhausted, if they're irritable, if they're tired, they'll know what it is. A lot of women, for example, they're so tired that they're fobbed off as being depressed. They're not. It's just a hormone imbalance. So we don't want women mislabeled wrongly. We don't want self-esteem knocked when it shouldn't be. So that's really why the information needs to get out there. And also women after menopause need to really look after their heart health, because once estrogen has dropped, they're at the same risk as men. So they have to make sure their cholesterol is under 5, make sure they don't put on weight, particularly around the tummy, where you have a higher risk of diabetes and also heart disease, and also breast cancer, by the way, with the abdominal fat, because fat makes estrogen around the tummy. So it's very important that, and then make sure their bone health is normal. And you do that by making sure your vitamin D taken as you add calcium in your diet. And then the aerobic exercise and the resistance exercise really help with the bone. So that's very important.
Dr. Mary, I have a number of questions to get to. Could you hold just while I take a quick break, because they're scheduled and I must take them. Can you hold for a couple of minutes, I wonder?
Oh, okay.
Okay, it'll be 2 minutes. Thank you.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
At On Post, we understand that living leaves a mark, and we want to leave one we're proud of. That's why we became the world's first postal company with zero emission deliveries in every major city, ensuring no nasty tailpipe emissions for you and your community. And launched our free Money Manager budgeting tool for current account customers, giving you the power to set and stick to budgets and much more. Living leaves a mark. Together, let's leave one we're proud of. On Post, for your world. For more info, visit onpost.com/sustainability. On Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
There's never been a better time to go full Lidl. Let's hear it from our customers.
Like, I'm the kind of shopper that I can't just buy one of something. Like, when I like something, I have to get like 3 or 4, blah, blah, blah. And because, like, the prices, you can get as many of the stuff as you can, do you know what I mean? Like,
that's it. Shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Don't know why she's leaving.
Joe Gallagher Entertainment presents Chris Norman, the original voice of Smokey, returns to Donegal on the 30th of October to the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from the Mount Erigal Hotel reception, Joe Gallagher Entertainment office and Ticketmaster.ie.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by Business Development Executive with Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce and founder of Moss Marketing, Marie Shields. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. Business Matters podcast is also available to download at hineradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the Faculty of Business at ATU Donegal. Looking for a career in financial services? Consider the Level 9 MA in Governance and IT in Financial Services. Take the next step in your career and contact the Exec Ed Coordinator on 9186206 or email execed, EXECED at atu.ie today.
Listen up, pet lovers. Feed your pets for less at Pet Value Buncrana. Get Burns dog food 20% off. James Well-Beloved dog food 15 kg was €73.80, now only €60. Whiskas 40 pouch cat food, only €16. Whiskas 7 kg complete cat food, only €20. Get more value at Pet Value. St Mary's Road, Buncrana. Open 7 days a week. Find us on Facebook.
The Glencar service station offering top quality fuel from Circle K at the keenest prices. In store, there's everything from car accessories, homewares, DIY and toys. And not forgetting the essential services from Lotto, Bill Pay and top-ups. Call in to see their cash and carry fuels at the Glencar service station, Glencar.
Hello, Farmer Tinny here. The Christmas Club is now open at Tinny's Toys, Letterkenny. Loads of top brand toys in stock. Number 1 in Donegal for electric ride-on toys, pedal farm toys and go-karts. Buy now and pay later with Klarna. No extra charges. Check us online at tinnystoys.com or call into our Leck Road store, Letterkenny. Tinny's Toys, your local toy store. Down, boy.
Okay, we appreciate Dr. Mary Ryan's time this morning. Dr. Ryan, a caller wants to know, could you mention, please, the supplement for hair thinning or the product for hair thinning again, please? Hello? No, we seem to have lost Dr. Ryan there, unfortunately. Let's see if we can reconnect, or maybe she was called away to something else. Give us a moment.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union. 9102 127.
This week at Centra, choose from our great offers, like Centra Selected Fresh Meat, any 3 for €10. Surf Powder Tropical Lily 45 wash, now only €7. And Diablo Black Cabernet Sauvignon, now only €10. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra, live every day. Enjoy, call sensibly.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Tracksuit bottoms for men from all your favourite brands. Adidas, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas Tiro 21 training pants, tight on the leg with zip pockets. Adidas Entrada pants, classic style from only €30. Nike Tiempo training pants with classic zip pockets, only €40. Look the part, play the part. In-store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Paul Claffey Tours are delighted to announce that we're heading back to sunny Spain in June 2023, staying at the luxury Barossa Hotel Complex, Cadiz, Spain from June 8th to 15th. Joining Paul for this unforgettable week will be some of Ireland's best loved entertainers, Mike Denver, and many friends including Brendan Shine, Dominic Kerwin, John McNichol, Jerry Guthrie, Stephen Smith, Jim Devine, Cleena Hagan, The Conquerors, Aisling Rafferty, Ger Long and many more. The price is only €1,079 half board plus tax and insurance. Call 01 685 2244 or see paulclaffeytours.com and don't miss the holiday of a lifetime.
You might think you know Ireland's ancient East, but maybe it's time for a closer look. Uncover stories bold and brave where vibrant city nights follow action-packed days. Set course for countless adventures at Carlingford Adventure Centre or roam wild in wonder in the Glen of Aherlow and become captivated by the culture and craft of Kilkenny's cobbled streets. Ireland's ancient East, yours to explore. Keep discovering at discoverireland.ie.
The High Kings, celebrating 15 years together as Ireland's favourite folk group, are back at the Millennium Forum Derry on the 26th and 27th of January. Tickets available from Millennium Forum box office and millenniumforum.co.uk. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Call into the Glencar in Letterkenny where they offer live entertainment every weekend. They show all the live sports events on all their screens, including their huge 100-inch screen. Having a night in? Why not call into their off-licence where they offer a large range of products at the keenest prices around. The Glencar Inn. Great picture, great sound, great crack.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, patchy outbreaks of rain will extend across the region, though there'll be decent dry intervals, temperatures 13 or 14 degrees. Dr. Ryan, thank you very much. We'll not keep you very much longer. Are you with us, Mary, yes?
I am.
Yeah, okay.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to go shortly.
That's
I've very
okay.
little time.
Just
but I just want to, Yeah, no problem. If I can just tell you very quickly,
right,
just
ahead.
before you go,
Sure.
I have 2 free podcasts up on Hormone Health, and you can all your audience can download those for free. So they're on the Clean Ring website. the Let's Talk on Hormone Health. Lorraine Keane is interviewing me in them, and they're all on hormone health. They're on puberty, perimenopause, menopause. So they are, and there's also a free book that they can download, or it's available in all the pharmacies on hormone health as well. It's free on the Clean Marine website, but it's free in all the pharmacies. So just I would urge that women would pick that up for their daughters, granddaughters, everybody, and even men, because we need to educate all society.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for your time.
Not at all, Ellen. Take care.
Yeah, all right, goodbye. Dr. Mary Ryan there, who is a consultant endocrinologist there, who did say we had another 10 minutes, but anyway, there you go. That's fine. Right, on to some of your comments. Let's see, where are we? Did I just throw the comments away by accident? I wonder. A caller says, what about the tsunami of hatred unleashed every year? Hang old tigers. This is as it relates to the fallout from although we're probably in a way prolonging it ourselves. But they go on to say, what about the tsunami of hatred unleashed every year? Hang old tags, burning photos of public representatives. Yes, that girl, what the girls did was silly, but there was no hatred in their thought. It was just a song. Can others say the same? I would be along the same lines as you. I don't think for a moment there was any hatred there. Hi, Greg. Don't you think people basically drink because they are shy? For example, at a wedding, you won't see a man on the dance floor until they are drunk. Well, I know plenty of people who don't drink at all and might be the first on to the dance floor. I think there are definitely people who are shy that the drink will maybe loosen them up a little bit for sure, but there's certainly loads of people that some of the best crack people I know don't drink at all. QAnon is, sorry, I beg your pardon, 9/11 has too many inconsistencies. There were no weapons of mass destruction. JFK was hit by multiple shooters. Organic material cannot pass the Van Allen belt. The media is owned. You are only told what they want you to know. The Sphinx predates the pyramids by thousands of years. People did not carve out the Ellora caves. Conspiracy theory? No, I wouldn't call it that. Truth seekers, maybe. I would just love to have time in my day to worry about what happened to JFK and Allen belts and pyramids. Just unfortunately, there's just too much else going on in life for me to concern myself too much with that. Right, okay. Now, Kathy Walsh is an advanced nurse practitioner in inflammatory bowel disease at Letterkenny University Hospital. Good morning to you, Kathy.
Good morning, Greg.
What is the incidence rates of inflammatory bowel disease? We're speaking, by the way, I should let people know, ahead of a information evening on this topic next Thursday, but we'll remind people more of that as we go on. But how common is inflammatory bowel disease?
So the statistics for inflammatory bowel disease in Ireland is 60,000 people. In Europe, 3 million people are diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease. And in the Donegal region, we have 2,000 people diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease.
And is that along sort of the norms countrywide, or is there a particular high incident rate in this part of the world, Kathy?
No, there doesn't seem to be an excessive increase in Donegal. No, that would be in keeping with the population numbers that we have, yes.
And in terms of IBD, do you think a lot of people are, even if they do have it, are aware they have it, or do they put it down to something else?
Inflammatory bowel disease is an umbrella term for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And a similar condition would be an irritable bowel syndrome, which can be mixed up because IBD is inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel is IBS, and often the terms can be interlinked. It's really important if you have symptoms that you attend your GP and not self-diagnose. So a lot of bowel symptoms overlap. They're very similar. With inflammatory bowel disease, you can get symptoms of diarrhea. You can get symptoms of urgency, wanting to run to the toilet a lot. You can get pains in your tummy. You can get tiredness, and you can also get weight loss. But this is very similar and in keeping with other bowel conditions. The thing that's quite specific about inflammatory bowel disease is that this affects a young adult population, predominantly between the age of 18 and 40. But we do have people diagnosed over the age of 60 years of age, and that would be sort of between about 20 and 30% within this cohort. This is a chronic disease. It's lifelong. It's an inflammatory condition of the bowel, and it's an unpredictable condition of the gastrointestinal tract, and it can have episodes of relapse and episodes of remission.
And presumably there'll be information available as it relates to treatment, but also presumably maybe lifestyle, dietary changes that can be made to help best manage it?
Exactly. So this meeting, just to emphasise as well, is for patients diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease. It's going to be an informal, relaxed meeting. It's free as well. And the reason would be to have the meeting. It's an opportunity to create awareness of inflammatory bowel disease. It's also to provide information and improve knowledge. And also we have updates on new treatments, but also as well as to meet other people who are living with inflammatory bowel disease. Now, there are certain challenges associated with living with inflammatory bowel disease. It can affect quality of life. It can have restrictions to social activities. And this is all in keeping with the symptoms that people can have with it. Young people going to work, going to school, and that feeling of isolation. And it's also a very difficult situation to discuss a disease like inflammatory bowel disease regarding, frequency of your bowel motions. So providing this meeting on next Thursday on the 20th of October in the Radisson Hotel will provide more information, more education and more awareness for people. And it is an informal, relaxed meeting as well. And it's important that people know they can bring, a friend or a relative with them as well too.
And can people turn up on the evening, or do you prefer pre-registration? What's the story there, Cathy?
Oh, very good question, Greg. No, it's just turn up if you want more information, you want to meet the team. I'm the advanced nurse practitioner, but I work with 3 consultant gastroenterologists. One of them will be speaking on the evening, as will Lisa Harney, our pharmacist, on medication related to inflammatory bowel disease. Feel free to turn up. Meet and greet all the team, which most people will have met before, and just to share knowledge and more improved knowledge and information, I suppose, for everybody, and updates on inflammatory bowel disease as well.
Okay. Right, okay, so that's next Thursday evening, and that sounds very casual and informal, between 7 and 8 p.m.
Absolutely.
in the Radisson Hotel in Letterkenny. You don't have to go on your own. If you want to bring someone with you, you're more than welcome to do so as well. That's the message, Cathy.
Absolutely.
All right, have a lovely day, Cathy. Thank you very much indeed.
And
yes, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, Greg. Thank you.
It's our pleasure, and I'm going to reiterate when it's on. Okay, thank you so much. That's Cathy Walsh there, Advanced Nurse Practitioner, Inflammatory Bowel Disease at Letterkenny University Hospital. And it is an information evening. It's next Thursday. It's in the Radisson Hotel in Letterkenny, and it runs from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. So if you have inflammatory bowel disease, it's an opportunity for you to learn more about IBD, to meet others as well. There'll be presentations on IBD, treatment for IBD, and living with IBD, advice in that regard. So you're invited to go along and to bring a friend.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
Farmland re-wetting blasted as land grab. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
We reveal how the EU plans to re-wet over 200,000 hectares of Irish farmland. Fertiliser importers seek scheme to protect margins. New government funding for solar farms. Big changes on the way for dairy beef welfare scheme. New 3% land tax to hit farm incomes. And we speak to Minister for Justice Helen McEntee on rural crime, parenting and domestic violence.
Inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal, you cannot afford to miss it.
Inflation busting sale now on at Florid Letterkenny. There's 12mm AC5 European laminate starting from €16.95 a square yard. 8mm AC4 European laminate starting from €11.99 a square yard. And engineered plant oak flooring from only €47.99 a square yard. But hurry, only while stocks last at Florid, Cullion Road, Letterkenny.
Hello, I'm David Foley, medical herbalist. Are you suffering with a cold, flu or sinusitis? Then ask for Irish Botanica Echinacea. A traditional herbal remedy, Irish Botanica Echinacea is your natural solution to relieve the symptoms of the common cold, flu and sinusitis. Call into the Natural Way, Letterkenny Shopping Centre for more information.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Want to save over €65 off your weekly family shop? Super Value makes it as easy as 1, 2, 3 with low prices that match Aldi and the products you love, like Super Value Fusilli 1 kilo only 99 cent and Super Value 64 fragrance baby wipes only 95 cent, plus thousands of branded special offers along with money off vouchers each week. You don't see that in Aldi.
Your autumn getaway awaits in Ards and North Down. Just minutes from Belfast, this stunning region is the place for great value short breaks. Embrace the water's edge with adventures on both land and sea. Explore picturesque towns and villages. Visit top-class attractions and sample delicious local food and drink. Experience a relaxing stay and a warm welcome this autumn. For details, offers and the chance to win a £300 voucher towards your break, go to visitardsandnorthdown.com.
Now, just a quick sorry for a lot of you text in as it relates to questions on menopause, and that item was set up with more time in mind and with more of an opportunity to answer your questions, and I invited you to take your time to send them in, and you did, but unfortunately as it played out, it wasn't as I was expecting, so my apologies, and it is something we'll touch on. We've talked about it many times, but we will try to arrange an item whereby your questions are actually answered. So my apologies to you in relation to that. It's just live radio and sometimes there's not much you can do about it. Right. Okay. Al-Anon is for families and alcohol and Alcoholics Anonymous is different. Al-Anon, says this texter, is for the families of alcoholics. It's different from the AA. Okay. Thanks for that clarity there. I was just taking my guidance from Pat in that regard. Interesting letter in the papers today. I'm 78 this month. I can still tie my shoelaces and remember the name of several world leaders. I can also walk 5 miles without gasping and can drive a car from Manchester to Cleggan without hitting anything on the way, and nearly always in time for good dinner at Foyle's in Clifton. I have a clean driving licence and in 58 years on the road have never had an accident that wasn't someone else's fault. But last month, faced with a tight timetable and having meetings with my house in Connemara with builders, I thought I might fly to Knock and hire a car. I got the laptop out and, sweet as an autumn conker, I found the flights I wanted. The choice of car was easy. Something small just for me and for 10 days. Extremely pricey, but in all, the package was a bit less than the ferry. All was going well until I typed in my age 77. Suddenly, there wasn't a car to be found, not one, not even a Morris Minor. So I typed 37 in the age box. Wow, all of a sudden, the world was my ostrich. I'd always seen Ireland as a place that respected age and experience. This seemed to me to smack of age discrimination, or was it just Harding discrimination? Were they confusing me with the Michael that writes for this paper, or were they just taking the mick? My only consolation is that one day they too will type 77 and find all the cars in the West have gone to a parallel universe called Chernanog, and that Ireland is truly no country for old men. That's Mike Harding from Cleggan in County Galway. Powerful letter. And I think there is definitely quite a bit of ageism out there. All right, have a great day. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 9. John's next.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply